Thank you for joining us around the fire. For more information or to make a donation, please visit randomactsnetwork.com. Now, want to hear a scary story?
I have an affection for the Scandinavian countries. There is a particularly fine cathedral in Trondheim which I discovered in the spring of 1904. The Norwegian guide informed me that the original Archbishop of Trondheim had been English and responsible for the spiritual welfare of the Shetland Islands. Well, I see no reason to doubt it. Oh, I beg your pardon. We were talking about Scandinavia. Yes. Norway and Trondheim. And the boat. The boat. Oh, dear me. I should really have to leave you to make up your own mind about the boat. In Trondheim Cathedral.
Magnificent, yes, I agree. It's a remarkable building.
Yeah, I should date it around 1200, though. Whether any of the original stonework remains... Oh, do look at that vaulted arch.
Just a moment.
It's curious. We left a door open.
No, it's coming from the roof.
Oh, I devoutly hope that it is not a loose beam about to crash down on us. I should object to being discovered dead in a foreign church.
Difficult to see in the shadows. Only up there, hanging from the crossbar. It's a model boat, isn't it?
Good heavens, how very odd. What a beautiful piece of carving. You can get a clear view from this angle.
Yes, I fancy those chains are making the noise as it swings backwards and forwards. Must be in a cross strap.
I don't remember that from my last visit. Now, why should anyone hang a wooden boat?
Excuse me, please. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
You are speaking English. I'm also speaking English, so we understand each other, yes?
I don't think we need a guide, thank you.
Excuse me. I am sorry, but I hear you asking, what a boat?
Yes, indeed. Can you tell us?
Of course. The fishermen hang these in church to ask for protection, a blessing on their sail. You understand me?
Yeah.
They ask the holy saints to keep them safe across the water.
I see. Interesting. Are they always so elaborate?
No. That one is important. That is the Anitra.
Yeah, they paint the name of the boat on the side. I can't quite make it out. Oh, dear, why have I left my glasses back at the hotel? Can you read it?
Oh, well, just about. Anitra. Yes, Anitra.
It's no good. Unfortunately, I'm short-sighted. All this will give me is a crick in the neck.
If I may introduce myself. My name is Sørensen, Lars Sørensen.
How do you do, sir? I'm Dr. James, and this is my friend George Masterman of Masterman Press.
It is my pleasure. Mr.
Sørensen.
You have a holiday?
Part holiday, part business.
Dr. James is well known for his ghost stories. They are being translated into Norwegian, and we are here to finalize the contract.
Oh, a translation. Good, but who translates? I do translations from the English myself.
Indeed.
Who will be making this translation?
You probably know the man. There can't be so many academics in Trondheim who specialize in English literature. This is a Professor Anders.
Please?
Professor Anders. Have you not met Professor Jørgen Anders?
Something the matter.
He's gone over there. He's sitting down in that pew.
Oh, very awkward. I wonder what one ought to do. Perhaps a glass of water.
Yes, though we can get a glass of water.
If there's a cafe nearby, but it's a question of being able to explain.
Oh, James, there's somebody coming. I really think we'd better leave it to them. Oh, Lord, now there's a clergyman looking out of the vestry. I suggest we go.
As you wish. Oh, poor fellow, this is most unfortunate. Yes, perhaps it would be prudent to get out of the way. If the man is seriously unwell, as neither of us can speak the language... Oh, dear. There is very little we can profitably do. Come on. Later in the day, we noticed an ambulance drawn up outside the cathedral. I cannot say I made any immediate connection then. Indeed, I thought no more of Mr. Lars Sørensen until a year later, as I sat in my study in Cambridge, awaiting the arrival of the distinguished professor and translator, Jørgen Anders.
He's late.
Oh, there's plenty of time. We're not due in the lecture hall till 7:30. Tell me, do you remember that strange person we met in Trondheim Cathedral? The old gentleman who practically choked when I mentioned Anders?
Professional jealousy.
Yeah.
My dear James, we both know that hell hath no fury like an academic passed over in favour of somebody else. Where is the man?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, Mrs. Craddock?
This parcel has just come, sir. It's addressed to Professor Jorgen Anders.
Bless my soul. What in heaven's name? It's dripping wet. Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear. Has the postman gone?
Wasn't bought by the postman, sir. I found it on the doorstep.
Is it raining?
No, Dr. James.
What a revolting sudden mess. We cannot possibly give that to Professor Anders. I imagine some clumsy boy dropped it in a puddle.
Yes, even the ink is running.
No, please, take it away, Mrs. Craddock. Take it to the kitchen and get it dry.
Near the boiler might do it. Though I shouldn't be surprised if this brown paper didn't start tearing.
It can't be helped. Just do the best you can. And that, of course, is the man himself. No, Mrs. Craddock. Get the thing out of here.
Yes,
I'll answer the
Dr.
door.
Good evening, Dr. James.
At last.
My dear Professor, please come in. May I have your coat? Come in. You remember George Masterman, my publisher?
Most clearly, how are you, sir?
Pretty fit, thank you. Have you had a good journey?
Bad crossing. I do not like the sea.
You'll take a glass of sherry with us? Well, sit down. They don't expect you at the lecture hall till 7:30.
You are speaking, I believe, on Nordic legends. A fascinating subject.
I find it so.
Is this to be an extended tour of England?
I go to several cities, yes. Now, to speak plainly, you were content with my translation of your work?
Oh, it seems excellent.
Oh, yes, perfectly satisfactory. First class.
I found your stories most curious. Tell me, Dr. James, do you personally, do you believe in the supernatural?
My dear fellow, you shall have the answer I give everybody. I neither believe nor disbelieve. I merely collect evidence. Your sherry.
And the evidence proves?
Nothing, as yet.
But your mind will remain open?
I certainly hope so.
Good. I put to you a suggestion. Might it not be possible to move a solid object by paranormal means?
No.
No? Do you not think a violent emotion, a fierce hatred, some disturbance of the brain might actually cause movement?
It depends what you mean. If I hate you so much, I pick up this decanter and throw it at your head, Professor. Why, yes. Yes, my emotion has produced movement. But if you mean, can I cause the bottle to fly through the air of its own volition?
My friend, there are many things we do not understand in this world.
I agree. But the law of gravity is not one.
James, it's 7:20.
Good gracious. We shall have to go, I'm afraid. I think you have...
Could I speak to you, sir?
Not now, Mrs. Craddock.
It's rather important, sir. It's about you-know-what.
What? Oh, dear. Masterman, will you take Professor Anders across to the lecture hall?
Of course.
It's on the west side of the quad.
Yes, sir.
I'll be with you in a minute.
Dr. James.
Yes. I'm in a hurry.
That parcel, sir, addressed to your visitor. You told me to get it dry.
Yes.
Only I'm sorry to say the box fell to pieces.
Never mind.
I put it on the kitchen table. I didn't like to touch the thing. Some kind of animal, would it be?
Oh, surely not.
It's about 1 foot long, all done up in linen, and it seems to be heaving.
Good heavens.
Oh, if you wouldn't mind coming to the kitchen and having a look, sir.
Yes.
There. Heaving, you see?
Bless my soul.
Do you see what I mean?
Get me a pair of scissors or a kitchen knife. Quick.
Yes.
What on earth?
Oh, well, I never. Oh, that fuss, and it's only a toy. A lovely little toy boat.
This is quite extraordinary.
Oh, fancy me being frightened by a kid's plaything. Has the foreign gentleman got children, then?
I have no idea. No, Mrs. Craddock. This will be a model. Used, no doubt, to illustrate some point in his talk. Oh, dear me. He may want it. Get me a carrier bag, please.
Oh.
It had better be delivered to the lecture hall at once.
Right.
Where the devil is James? I don't know. Still, we'd better get on.
Yes.
Gentlemen and visitors, We are honoured by the presence of Professor Jorgen Anders. Professor Anders comes to us from Norway and will speak on Nordic myths and legends, a subject which promises to be of great interest. He is an expert on Scandinavian mythology and has, I understand, recently published a Norwegian translation of the works of our own Dr. Montague James. So, without further interruption from me, I give you Professor Jorgen Anders.
Still no sign? He'll be here in a minute. He doesn't know he has to move the vote of thanks. Yes.
Good evening. I wish to begin tonight by considering the early Icelandic literature, the fragments of poetry still preserved in the richness of the Edda. I talk of a time before Christianity had brought to the north the influence of the classical races. The alien mythology of Greece and Rome. May I have the first lantern slide, please?
I do apologise, Mr. Sit down.
What have you got there?
It's for him. He may need it.
A model boat.
And the northern gods, as shown in the Edda, stood as massive as these Scandinavian mountains here. They flew over the waters and rode on the tempests.
Professor
They were
Anders.
superior to the elements, indifferent
Professor
to ordinary
Anders.
matter. They commanded the whole force of the universe.
Professor.
Yes, what?
This has come for you.
What the devil is it?
I don't know.
Oh, get a cloth, somebody. It's quite all right, Professor. Has it got in your papers?
I'm so sorry, so very sorry.
Oh, let me. It was my fault. I'm afraid I interrupted you. Do continue.
Professor, you were saying?
Yes?
He's lost his notes now.
Let us have the next slide, if you please. No, that is upside down.
No, I don't think it is, Professor.
No, of course not. Now, here we have a glacier. Now, from this place came rushing water, hardening into ice. And the gods, as we read in the Volsunga saga, the gods...
I wish people with colds would stay at home. It's generally a sign that the people can't hear you.
Yes, the gods, uncreated and unseen, made a great giant from the ice.
Could you speak up a little, Professor Anders?
Yes, please.
What have I done?
Oh, no, nothing. Could you just speak a little louder?
This was to be the creation of man. In Valhalla, the hall of the chosen slain, we find...
The dead, I suppose.
We shall
Please,
find
gentlemen.
those men who I had slain in battle, who were the especial favourites of Odin.
Was Valhalla the same as the Greek Olympus, sir?
Yes, as I explained to you.
Surely not, sir. Olympus was the seat of the Greek gods. Well, Valhalla was more like the underworld, wasn't it?
Yes, certainly. Well, it's a matter of opinion. Odin was also known as Wotan or Warden.
Why?
What?
I think we had better keep questions until the end.
Odin and the gods also created other maggot-like creatures who lived in the mountains. They were trolls and dwarfs and elves. They were dark and treacherous and cunning. They pursued with spite and malice anyone they thought, what they believed had in some way done them wrong.
Professor Anders, is something the matter, sir?
I must go. I must go.
But, Professor Anders! Professor Anders!
It's really most embarrassing, James. And then he just ran out.
But what do you make of it, sir?
Make of it? Goodness knows. Bless my soul, this is a highly respected international scholar. I cannot believe he would deliberately let us down. I feel responsible. I introduced the man to college. I am highly embarrassed, and I am also rather cross.
A nice hot whiskey, sir.
Yes, that would be splendid, Mrs. Craddock. Thank you. Well, let me answer that. I suspect a deputation complaining about tonight's fiasco.
Quite probable, sir.
This is quite intolerable. I must really protest. Good heavens.
Dr. James, what can I say to you?
I have no idea.
Will you excuse me, please?
Professor Anders, it is nearly midnight. I am in the process of going to bed. You have wrecked what should have been an event of some importance in the presence of 100 students and several of our most distinguished dons. You came here, sir, at my personal invitation. If I call your extraordinary behaviour discourteous, it is the very least...
I must have my coat.
I beg your pardon?
You have this, I want this. My coat, my papers, where are my notebooks?
I collected your personal belongings from the lecture hall. It seemed the only rational thing to do. Kindly wait a minute.
There is a hat also.
You had better come in.
My coat and my papers. I must have my papers. Where's my...
Oh, dear me. You're soaking wet.
Yeah.
Did you not take a cab?
I have walked. It does not matter.
Oh, look, please, sit down. You appear to be ill. I really think I'd better offer you a bed for the night.
No, I do not wish to sleep.
Oh, it's no trouble, I assure you. My housekeeper is still about. I shall ask her to prepare the room.
No. I must go from here at once.
If you insist.
Your whiskey, sir. Oh, would the gentleman like a glass?
No, Mrs. Craddock, you'll find a pile of things on the chair in my study. A hat, coat, if you could bring them.
Yes.
You must forgive me.
My dear fellow, what on earth happened?
It is not possible for an inanimate object to move. You have said this, yes? It is not possible.
Excuse me, I fail to understand. Ah, Mrs. Craddock. Thank you. Your coat, hat, the briefcase.
And there was this too, sir, the little boat.
Take it away. It's yours. It came by post. Addressed to you.
No. My coat, please. That is a present. Yes. A little gift for yourself, Dr. James. Thank you, present. Oh, you must have that. You must keep that. My briefcase.
Professor Anders, there is really no need.
No, not at all. You're most welcome. I wish to repay your kindness. So good. So kind.
It's still raining. Let me call your cab.
Goodbye, my dear sir. Such a pleasure to meet with you. Goodbye.
Wait! At least take my umbrella. Good gracious. Do you know, I begin to wonder if the man is entirely sane.
Dr. James.
He's coming back.
For God's sake, keep it high.
What? What did you say?
He's gone, sir.
Gone. Then I could only suggest you lock up, Mrs. Craddock.
Dr. James! Dr. James!
I don't want breakfast just yet, Mrs. Craddock.
It's not breakfast, sir. You've got a visitor.
What time is it?
8:30. It's a young lady, sir, and she says it's urgent.
Nonsense. What's her name?
Anders. I think she might be some relation of that foreign gentleman who called last night.
Oh, dear. Put her in the drawing room and tell her to wait.
She won't like that, sir.
She can scarcely expect me to come downstairs in my dressing gown.
Are you Dr. James?
I am. Good morning, madam. What can I do?
My name is Caroline Anders.
Ah, yes, a relation, I take it. And you speak English. Good. What is the precise connection between you and Professor Anders?
I'm his wife.
His wife? Good heavens.
I am his wife, Dr. James. And I speak English because I am English.
I beg your pardon. How very stupid of me. But I had no idea the Professor was married.
Jorgen has been married twice. I'm his second wife.
Dear me, are you indeed? May I offer you some coffee?
This is not a social call, Dr. James, and I object to wasting time. Where is he?
Forgive me?
Where is my husband?
Am I likely to know?
Jorgen gave a lecture at your college last night.
No.
He didn't?
I regret to tell you that his talk was cancelled for reasons which I prefer not to go into. I formed the impression he was unwell.
My husband has excellent health.
If you say so. It is 1,000 pities you were not at the lecture, Mrs. Anders.
I had to visit my parents in Cambridge. I can't watch Jorgen all the time.
With due respect, madam, neither can I. Are you sure he doesn't suffer from some nervous complaint?
Certainly not. Why? What has he said to you?
Very little.
We have a very important lecture tour. We have to be in London by the 10th. Where did he spend the night?
At some hotel, I imagine.
No. I've been to the Royal Imperial. He checked in but never came back. He told the desk clerk he had an appointment with you at 6:30.
That is correct. I saw him then. And again round about midnight. Mrs. Anders, you are naturally very concerned about this. I suggest we telephone the police.
No.
If he has disappeared...
Don't be absurd. There is no need. No. No.
I really think the police ought to be notified in case some accident...
But it's your fault. You organised the whole event. You were responsible. When you saw Jorgen was ill, why didn't you send for me?
Because I failed to realise anything was wrong until halfway through the proceedings. And as for calling you, quite frankly, I had no idea you existed.
I am staying at the Royal Imperial.
I shall make a note of the address.
Thank you. And call me the moment you have any news.
Of course, though why you assume it. Mrs. Anders?
Mrs. Anders, what is it?
Where did you get it?
What?
That object.
I beg your pardon? Oh, that. The small boat. It was a present from your husband.
I don't believe you.
If you wish me to return it?
No. Why should we care about a toy boat? You keep it. Keep it safe. It's nothing to do with us.
And then she departed in a whirl of fur and indignation.
Strange. You know she came here as well.
To your office?
Oh, yes. In, as you so aptly describe it, a whirl of fur and indignation. She seemed to think that I, or the college authorities, or the publishing firm of Masterman and Son, had kidnapped her husband.
Good gracious. Where the devil has the man gone?
I can't imagine. What did you make of her? She's very pretty and astonishingly young. May married to December, don't you feel?
The lady's handsome enough, but I found her lacking in grace and, dare I say it, with a disposition of solid granite.
Shame.
Forgive me. I really don't see what we can do to help.
My dear fellow, we can't do anything short of going to the police, and she won't hear of that.
I wonder why.
Oh, by the way, we had a very pleasant notice in the Norwegian press. Would you care to see it?
What? Oh, yeah, yes, thank you. Yes, indeed.
My secretary has the file. Did you hear that?
What?
Someone coughing in the outer office. Miss Lindsay must have shown up a visitor. Miss Lindsay?
No, please don't bother if your secretary is busy.
Nobody in the room. That's odd. Miss Lindsay?
It doesn't matter, I assure you.
But I definitely heard a kind of dry cough. Oh, well. Let me find this file for you.
Good heavens.
It should be somewhere about.
Masterman, bless my soul. I must really ask you to explain.
I beg your pardon?
How in the name of wonder did that thing get here?
What? What?
There is a model boat on the desk.
I'll ask Miss Lindsay.
Masterman, I left that boat in my house less than 2 hours ago. I can only assume Miss Caroline Anders brought it to you.
No.
She must have done. Confound the woman. I said she might have it. I offered to give it back. But to return to my home and deliberately steal...
James, Mrs. Anders had nothing in her hand, and I have never seen that boat before.
Oh, but you have.
Of course, the lecture hall.
Earlier.
Your study?
Earlier.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm afraid my memory...
It was hanging in the cathedral at Trondheim.
Surely not.
Examine the carving, the shape of the prow, and a name carved on the side. I haven't got my glasses with me. Be so good as to read the name.
Anitra?
Yes. I have the most horrid premonition. Anitra.
Well, it must be a copy, a souvenir. It's come from some gift shop for the visitors.
Oh, dear me. I do so hope you are right.
Damn. Well, put your finger on it. A kind of electric tingling. But wood does not conduct electricity, does it? The whole frame is shivering. Vibration, perhaps?
By all means, let us call it vibration.
Let me understand you. This boat was in your house recently.
2 hours ago. I gave it to my housekeeper, who very sensibly desired to wash it on account of the dust.
It feels dry enough now, and the shuddering has stopped.
Dear God, can such things be? Kindly ask your secretary to bring me string, scissors, and quite a lot of brown paper.
Certainly, as soon as she returns, though why...
I fear we're in deep waters and meddling with a matter which could be extremely grave, dangerous. I shall return the boat to Mrs. Anders immediately, at the Royal Imperial Hotel. Oh dear, this is quite appalling. We shall be soaked.
We must have walked half
dripping from the gutter. Turn up your coat collar. Allow me.
Thank you. Oh, there's a cab. Cab!
Well, what an extraordinary piece of luck. Yes. We shall both have caught a very nasty cold.
James.
As it is, my socks are decidedly wet.
James, what have you done with the parcel?
I had it under my arm. Where on earth?
You put it down when we took shelter from the rain. You've left it in the doorway.
Oh, no. That will not do at all. Cabby!
Something wrong, sir?
Yes, indeed. What a stupid
Please turn around and drive back.
Oh, right you are, sir. Where to?
The place where you picked us up.
As long as you remember where that was, Governor. Because I'm loaded like
Where was it?
It was the doorway of a drapery store, next to Taylor's snuff and tobacco shop.
You want to go back
Hurry,
now?
man, hurry. It's not far. I must find it.
Oh, dear me. Oh, dear. Dear.
That didn't take long. All right, James?
It isn't there.
Good Lord. Are you certain? I mean, that's the same doorway, I'm positive.
Yes, I propped the packet up against the glass window. And the thing has gone.
Stolen?
Oh, come.
Yes, much too strong a word. No doubt some passerby has picked it up.
That is just possible, I suppose.
Oh, my dear fellow, it hasn't walked away by itself. So, back to my office?
Yes, where to, sir?
The Royal Imperial Hotel at once.
You really want to go there this time?
If you please, as fast as possible.
But, yes, James, there's no point. Why bother?
I have a certain dreadful unease until we find Professor Anders. Though if what I suspect is wrong, if what I fear is entirely mistaken, then there is no point in the journey at all, thank God. But water... He said it must be kept away from water.
I think you must be catching a feverish cold.
This way, I think. Yes. 212, 213, 214. Pray God, this is a delusion. I have the most appalling fear. We must find Professor Anders.
Good morning to you.
Anders? Bless my soul. Now, that is quite extraordinary.
You wanted to see my wife. Please, gentlemen, step inside. How are you? You're well, yes?
We'd been wondering where you were, sir.
Please, why should I be? I'm staying at this excellent hotel. There's a problem?
Your wife is looking for you.
Ah, no, not possible. Some misunderstanding, I think. Caroline is here with me.
At the Imperial? You're together?
May I ask since when?
Oh, 1 hour, perhaps 2.
Well, we've obviously made a mistake.
What's that noise?
Excuse me?
Someone is coughing.
Irritating, yes. The person in the next room has a cold.
Professor Anders, I have no wish to intrude on you or the lady, but certain curious events make it necessary. Can either of you explain...
Please, we wait for Caroline. That will be better. At the moment, she's taking her bath. You would like a drink?
Oh, dear. I'm afraid we're inconveniencing you. This is evidently the wrong time. James, we must call back after lunch.
Oh, not at all. You must eat with us. I'm sure Caroline would wish me to invite you.
Oh, dear God.
Caroline?
What in heaven's name?
Caroline, what is it? It's locked. You must open the door. Why don't you help me?
Put your shoulder to the top panel. Try to break the hinges. It's all right, Mrs. Anders. Your husband is coming. Please calm yourself.
Oh, no. Oh, dear God.
What was that? What did she say? I can't see anything for steam.
Lift her out of the water quickly. Masterman, get a doctor, get the housekeeper. Get somebody, for pity's sake. Please, hold her hand. Very, very carefully.
Please, no, she's fainted. Yes, just fainted. Yes, she's just fainted.
She had not just fainted. Caroline Anders was dead. Particles of talcum dust drifted across the mirror, and in the reflection for one fleeting second, I thought I saw a boat rocking on top of the bath suds. But then suddenly Professor Anders gave a heart-rending cry and crashed to the floor, after which we were all too concerned to check the matter. Then, of course, there was the question of Caroline Anders' funeral.
Good morning, James.
Oh, no, dear fellow, coffee.
Have you seen today's paper? Mrs. Anders is to be buried on Tuesday. Ghastly tragedy. Heart failure, I imagine. Don't you?
I imagine? What did I imagine? No, this is pointless speculation. And besides, I could be wrong.
I suppose as a matter of courtesy, we shall have to go.
Yeah.
You think it necessary for both
I
of
think
us?
it vital that I should go. He asked if I believed in it.
I beg your pardon?
The supernatural movement of objects.
And you said no, rather wittily, I remember. Something to do with emotion and throwing things at your enemy's head.
Why didn't I listen to him?
You did.
Why should Professor Anders be so frightened of a model boat?
Well, I presume it means something to him.
Oh, yes. Oh, dear me. Yes, Masterman. It means something.
The parents have a house by the river. I checked the address. The ceremony is at 2:30. Shall I call for you at 2? We can share a cab.
Earth to earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust.
Listen. Shh. Someone is coughing.
It's cold out here in the churchyard.
Can you see? Can you see him?
Anders? Yes, he's over there.
Not Anders. That other.
What? I can't see anyone I know.
Oh, dear me. But I so much hoped you could.
Why?
It doesn't matter.
And the blessing of God remain with you always.
Amen. Oh, they're moving off. Shall we join the party going to the house, or would you rather look at the floral tributes? Quite a number of people have sent wreaths. James? James, what is it?
Dear God. I'm not hallucinating. No. Neither is it a trick of the light. It is there, isn't it? Huh? Against the wall. Between the crosses of lilies and the brick.
I don't know what you mean.
Oh, yes. You can see it too.
The boat.
But that's impossible. Try to get hold of it. For pity's sake. We cannot let Anders catch sight of this.
The people are watching us, James. Don't.
Stand in front of it.
It can't be the same one.
No. Then we have two boats called Anitra. Let us be rational. I left that object in a doorway. It is possible, mind, not probable, that some person discovered the thing and carried it here.
Yes, of course.
Of course.
Well, yes, why not? A logical theory.
Oh, dear passer-by, who happened to know Professor Anders and chanced to hear of the funeral, and being no doubt a fellow Norwegian of benevolent intent. Oh, come. It is not even halfway reasonable. Do use your common sense.
But the only other explanation
does not bear thinking about. Quite. Dear heaven. He's coming this way.
No. Dr. James, thank you for your card.
Professor Anders, you have all our sympathy in your great loss.
It's so kind. You need not trouble to hide it from me, sir.
I beg your pardon?
I have already seen it.
The flowers. Yes. So many and so beautiful.
Please stand aside. I know the boat is there.
Forgive me. Is there a special meaning?
No.
You can be frank with me.
So good of you to come.
Professor Anders, I once told you I have an open mind. If we are face to face with some kind of mystery...
By no means, no. I give you my word.
As you wish. I should have preferred a few honest facts.
Excuse me, you will excuse my English. I do not always understand you.
A pity.
I'm not ungrateful for your kindness.
But unwilling to trust me.
What can I say?
The boat.
A private joke. A piece of childish malice. Caroline would have known what to do. She was such a strong person, Caroline. Caroline has always managed my life, you see. Caroline would have told me how to...
Will you come this way, everybody?
But now I understand. Yes, I have been very foolish, so weak, so stupid. You know, it is almost as if Caroline herself was speaking to me. Yes. At last I realize what it is I have to do. Please do join the rest of the company. There's a meal waiting at the house.
Don't you think we should go now, James?
Excuse me, are you Dr. James?
Yes, indeed.
I hope you've got a drink.
Thank you.
I'm Caroline's mother, Mrs. Vickers.
How do you do? My friend George Masterman.
Madam, I'm so sorry.
Yes. She's gone, my lovely girl. I can't cry any more. That part of it is finished. Could I have a word with you in private?
By all means.
Please follow me. There's nobody in my husband's study.
I only met your daughter once, Mrs. Vickers. She struck me as the most beautiful creature.
How did he do it?
I beg your pardon?
Anders killed her, didn't he?
Bless my soul. You're under some astounding misconception. Dear me. Of course, I quite understand in your present state of grief and shock.
You were there at the time he murdered my darling child.
Mrs. Vickers.
Just tell me how it was done.
Good heavens, you must rid yourself immediately of this extraordinary delusion. I assure you there is absolutely no reason to suspect him.
No, his first wife died.
So I believe a tragic coincidence.
They said it was a boating accident. She was supposed to have drowned in a boating accident. I never wanted Caroline to marry the man. That's because he was rich and famous. My Caroline could have had her pick. She was wasted on that... Do you realise... Jorgen Anders was old enough to be her father.
Indeed, yes.
I told her to forget the money all those vulgar jewels he kept buying for her. He was a foreigner. Why did she ever go to Norway? She had a good home.
Mrs. Vickers, I do sympathise. It must be hard to come to terms.
I gave her everything. She was my little girl. And now she's dead. Murdered.
Mrs. Vickers, what I have seen and what you have just told me confirms my impression that Professor Anders adored his wife. More, I am convinced he was totally dependent on her, and he's devastated by her loss.
He talked to you, I suppose. Smooth, cunning lies.
James, the cab is here.
Cold, evil hypocrite.
If you insist. But as for killing his wife, I really must protest. By the time she died, Professor Anders was in the room with me and George Masterman here, who will confirm the fact. Isn't that so?
What?
When the accident happened, we were all together.
That's true, Mrs. Vickers. He never left us even for a moment. Besides, the bathroom door was locked.
You won't help me.
Madam, there is no way in which... Good gracious. Where's that smoke coming from?
Yeah, I can smell burning.
Is something on fire?
The garden's full of smoke. Good Lord, it's getting into the house.
The wind must be in our direction. I can see flames.
There's somebody out there.
My God. Anders! He must be mad. He's trying to burn down my house. Stop that! Stop that!
What in heaven's name?
He's trying to burn the boat.
That's lunatic. There'll be an accident if a spark lands on the wooden fence or near that rubbish heap.
We'd better put a stop to this.
Yes.
Come along.
Don't! Devil, you're trying to kill us too!
Dear God. What is that woman doing now?
She's getting the boat away from Anders. She's pulled it out of the fire.
I let go. Give me that.
I chose a modicum of sense.
Let's give the lady credit. That should stop the fire.
Not in the water. Not in the water. It must not go in the water.
As we watched, Mrs. Vickers ran down the garden, crossed the grass, and hurled the blazing boat into the river. There was an acrid smell, and smoke rose hissing from the surface. Dark, oily bubbles drifted downstream, catching and blackening the weed. With the main source of heat gone, the bonfire began to subside in collapsing ash and billowing smoke, gusting across the lawn in a pulsating cloud. The air became full of tiny specks, like a swarm of malevolent flies. In the meantime, Anders had gone to the riverbank and was trying to fish the boat out of the water. Suddenly he slipped and fell in.
Someone in the river! Quick, sir! Help!
No! Let me help.
Get a pole, a rope. Hurry! The current's sweeping him away. He's going to drown.
Well, here's a rope, and they're launching a dinghy.
I might be able to reach him from here, if you'll hang on to my waist to prevent me from falling into the water myself.
Can you manage? Now take the rope.
Professor Anders, hold on to this!
He's missed it.
Dear God!
Help!
Anders, don't struggle. Just stay afloat.
They've got the dinghy out.
Help! For heaven's sake, don't panic, man. There's no danger. You're going to be all right.
The boat is coming.
Yes, they'll have you out in a moment. Please, keep calm.
The boat is coming for me.
Anders!
Anitra!
Even as I watched, he flung up his arms and disappeared beneath the water. I cannot to this day understand it. For of course the dinghy was coming for him. It was a bare 10 yards away. Unless in his distress Professor Anders imagined some quite other and alien vessel. But I prefer not to dwell on the notion. A year later, at George Masterman's insistence, I found myself in Trondheim again.
Your book has been a great success here. There's even some idea of bringing out a second collection, using the rest of your stories.
And another translator.
Well, of course. That's why we have agreed to meet Mr. Nielsen.
Poor Jorgen Anders.
Oh, he was very unpopular here. I gather the yacht accident was distinctly suspect. Several people thought Professor Anders had murdered his first wife in order to marry the beautiful English visitor. There's Nielsen.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. May I introduce Dr. James?
A pleasure, my dear sir. I understand we may work together.
Perhaps you have read the Anders translation?
I have. A great scholar. Such a pity he is dead.
Indeed. Tell me, Mr. Nielsen, do you think Professor Anders murdered his first wife?
Yes.
Good gracious. Bless my soul. You knew the lady?
Anitra Anders. A little. She was very timid. She did not like the sea. When he insisted she sail with him, Mrs. Anders hung a small boat in the cathedral, as the fishermen do, praying the good saints to protect her.
A pious hope. It seems to have been misplaced.
I did not know her very well. I knew her father much better, Lars Sørensen.
Lars Sørensen? Upon my word, we met him once.
So, well, for what it is worth, Sørensen always believed his daughter had been murdered.
Now, that's very interesting. Did you hear that, James? Now, perhaps Mr. Sørensen took the model boat and pursued Anders to England.
Oh, impossible.
Well, if he really hated the man and suspected...
I'm sorry, what you suggest is quite impossible.
Why?
Because Lars Sørensen died in Trondheim Cathedral over a year ago.
On what date, Mr. Nielsen?
Oh, I am forgetting. Does it matter?
Probably not. But I have a horrid presentiment.
All right, not her father, but imagine some other member of the family bent on revenge, carrying the boat to England.
No.
You can't be certain.
I assure you I can, Mr. Masterman. The little boat is hanging in Trondheim Cathedral at this moment. Do you wish to see it?
If you would be so good.
Oh, please follow me. But be careful crossing the road.
He led us through that magnificent building, and there it was, swinging slightly in the draught, creaking a little, a model of the boat Anitra. This time, thank goodness, I had not forgotten my glasses. We studied the thing in silence. Then we thanked Mr. Nielsen and left. It would have been pointless to trouble that good man any further. But what alarms me, a source of a certain deep unease. Anders had asked me would it not be possible to move an object by paranormal means. I had rejected the idea so emphatically, but now... You see, there are scorch marks along the side of that little boat in Trondheim Cathedral, and part of the hull has been burned. Upon my word, you could swear someone had tried to set fire to it.
Go away from my window, go away from my door, go way, way, way from my bedside and bother me no more, and bother me no more.
Why did I become friends with Mrs. Faulkner? Good question. Because we were neighbours, I suppose.
May I introduce myself? Hilary Faulkner. I've just moved in next door.
It wasn't as if we had much in common. She was twice my age. Over 70, she said.
Time for a change, I told myself. My Arthur passed away a few months ago.
She missed her husband, you could tell.
But life goes on, doesn't it? I've got my children and grandchildren to think about.
You know, the type, a bit old, a bit soft. But there was still something sparky about her. She wouldn't let things get her down. Anyway, the house next door had been empty for about a year. Well, it would be, wouldn't it? Nobody likes death. Not that kind. Then Mrs. Faulkner came. Even I had to admit it was good to have a neighbour again. You know how isolated our two houses are. I was digging up some long dead flowers in the garden a few days after she moved in.
Do join me in a cup of tea, and you might do me a very small favour. I'm trying to open a jar of jam, but I've got a touch of arthritis in my hands. Could you possibly?
She smiled in that persuasive way of hers. I went in and opened a jar of jam, and that's how it started.
Have a scone, dear. May I call you Christine? They were warm from the oven. My chest isn't too good. I don't like to go out in damp weather.
It's very pleasant. There was something about her. She was sort of comforting to be with. She let you talk and really listened. I told her things I've never told anyone. But I didn't want to get too close. I always thought of her as Mrs. Faulkner, not Hilary. Kept that little distance between us. All the same, I think you could say we were friends. She wasn't always putting herself forward, trying to impress you, not like some people.
More tea?
Please. You've made the house very nice.
It was very nice when I moved in. Just a bit neglected round the edges from standing empty so long. I can't understand why such an attractive house didn't sell straight away.
They didn't tell you?
The estate agent explained about the isolated position. He did warn me, but I fell in love with it. I had to have it.
It's very large for...
Just for me, you mean? Oh, I chose this town to be equidistant from all my children. I've got 3, you know, and 7 grandchildren. Yes, so I need a big house. There I go, talking too much about myself. Didn't they tell me what?
It's nothing, really.
Oh, come on, Christine. You've roused my curiosity now.
Perhaps I shouldn't say.
Well, is there something wrong with the house?
No, nothing at all.
Is it haunted? Oh, I'm not afraid of ghosts.
There are no ghosts.
What then?
Someone died.
Here?
Not exactly.
In the garden?
On the road. On the hill that leads down to Thornton.
A traffic accident? Oh, dear. Who was the person who died?
Eleanor. She lived here. With her husband and little boy.
How sad. A child needs its mother. Oh, so they moved away. Oh, Christine, you're trembling. Let me take your cup. What is it, dear?
Sorry, I can't bear to talk about it.
I'm stupid, aren't I? You must have been friends. How long had she lived here?
5 years.
A long time.
Long enough. I felt shaken up inside being reminded like that. I told myself to forget about Eleanor, about the Harrisons. I'd settled into a pattern of forgetting, but it was like twisting a kaleidoscope. A new pattern emerged and I couldn't find the old one again. I thought, how would it be if I could talk about it? It wouldn't change anything, but it would be an end. A full stop.
Oh, Christine, it's you. Come in. I've just put the kettle on.
How are you today?
Legs are a bit stiff.
I saw Bellman's van.
I asked them to deliver my groceries. I haven't got round to unpacking them yet.
I'll help you.
You're a godsend. He was a nice enough young man, mind you. Very chatty.
Cornflakes in here?
Next to the sugar, dear. Do you know what he said?
What?
He said he wouldn't fancy living here.
It's very quiet. Not everyone likes that.
Then he asked me if I got nightmares.
What about these biscuits?
Rather an odd remark, don't you think?
I'll put them on this shelf. They'll be easier for you to read.
Why would I get nightmares, I wonder?
I don't know.
I've always slept very soundly.
I'll put the washing up liquid by the sink.
Christine, why was this house empty for so long?
Not that again.
Just as you like. The car crash. The one you told me about. Perhaps the young man was referring to that.
Probably. It was in all the papers.
It was an accident, wasn't it?
I didn't say that.
Arthur used to reckon I had only one weakness, my curiosity.
You mean you're going to keep on at me until I tell you?
I'm afraid it's a possibility. I did try to question the delivery man, but he was in a hurry. Ask anyone, he said. Everyone knows about the Harrison case around here. Then he drove off.
I should take his advice, then.
I don't get out much now. There's only you I can ask, Christine.
All right. It wasn't an accident. He messed about with Eleanor's car, the brakes failed and she was killed.
He?
Martin Harrison, Eleanor's husband.
I knew there was something. Let me get this straight. Eleanor was killed by her own husband.
He's in prison for it. Are you satisfied now? Oh, I've got you.
Let me sit for a minute.
Your hands are quite clammy.
It knocks the stuffing out of you. I'm living in a house where a murderer once lived. He ate in this kitchen. He touched these taps, this worktop. Did he sleep in my bedroom?
Don't.
I'm 72 years old, and I don't think I've ever felt quite like this. It's a shock, of course. But you know, it's rather exciting, too. You'd better tell me all about it.
Is this a good idea, Mrs. Faulkner?
I'm probably the only person in this town who doesn't know the story, and I think I should.
Like I told you, it seems Martin cut something on Eleanor's car. The brake pipe, I think. She went to see a friend every Tuesday, and there's this steep hill on the Thornton Road.
I've heard about it. A real black spot.
She died in hospital a day or two later. Martin was found guilty of murder, that's all.
Imagine that.
You're not upset?
Good heavens, no, it's over now. Nothing to be done. Nothing to do with me, thank goodness. No, it's you I'm worried about.
Me?
What a terrible thing to happen right next door. You never had a chance to talk about it, have you?
No.
They say talking is the best therapy. I'm sure it's still a painful memory, isn't it? I've realised how much it helps to talk and to share things since Arthur passed away. Tell me about the Harrisons.
I was curled up on Mrs. Faulkner's velvet sofa. I was warm, safe, full of tea and muffins. I was so comfortable except for this ache. She could massage it away just by listening. I began to talk. I can remember the day Eleanor and Martin moved in here.
Oh, yes.
I made a flask of coffee and some sandwiches and took them round, and there they were, Eleanor and Martin, eating their lunch on an empty tea chest. French bread, pâté and a bottle of wine. She thanked me, but I felt stupid. That was Eleanor all over, terribly well organised, not like me. She was pregnant at the time and looked marvellous.
What did she have?
A boy. Ben. Short for Benedict. He was gorgeous.
Poor child.
We saw quite a lot of each other, Eleanor and me, mainly here in this house. It's sunnier than mine. Have you noticed? I would keep an eye on Ben while Eleanor got on, sewing or cooking. She was a fabulous cook. Each time I came, there seemed to be some improvement, something to admire, like these strip pine doors. She had lovely taste. I mean, our house is nicely decorated. John sees to that. 2 rooms every year.
He makes a very good job of it.
But Eleanor had style. That's something you're born with, isn't it? I never felt comfortable when she came round to our house.
But it's a charming house.
I did try to make it nice at first, but it never quite came off, even when I copied one of Eleanor's ideas. And, of course, John didn't notice, so I rather gave up on the house after a while. He and Martin were forever doing up old cars. By that time, we hardly ever saw them. Eleanor and I used to laugh about it. Men are so childish, she would say. Give them food and love and a pleasant home, and they're as happy as boys. They need a jolt now and then to get them out of their rut and make them realise they're grown-ups. What do you think?
Well,
She understood about men.
I miss having a man about the house. Now, what did John think about it all?
About what?
The Harrisons, about Eleanor's husband.
Oh, that?
You don't mind my talking about it?
No, I don't mind. He was stunned when Martin went to prison. They were good friends.
John probably knew Martin as well as anyone, apart from Eleanor, of course. Didn't he notice something amiss? Do people commit murder on the spur of the moment?
It must have been planned.
Exactly. And John noticed nothing odd about him?
Martin loved his wife. They seemed a normal, happy couple.
Oh, dear.
What is it?
That makes it worse, doesn't it?
I'm glad you've come to live here.
How nice of you to say so, Christine.
I realise now how much I hated living next door to an empty house.
It frightened you?
Sometimes I thought the house was breathing, like a sleeping giant. One day it would wake up and...
Good heavens!
An empty house is more menacing than an occupied one. Why is that?
I'm sure I don't know.
I think it's because our imagination fills the spaces.
Oh, I'm afraid you've lost me, dear.
I've too much imagination. That's what John always says. Head in the clouds, he tells me. He likes to keep his feet on the ground. Down to earth, that's him. He doesn't believe in anything he can't touch. But there are other things. You can't touch them, but they're real. They live inside you, powerful things. People like John don't realise. I wish I was one of those balloons filled with helium. Let me go and I'd float away, far up, and I'd look down on all this. After all, what is there to keep me earthbound? It might have been different if we'd had children.
Whatever happened to the little boy?
Ben. He lives with his grandmother. I miss him a lot. He was the image of Martin, not a bit like Eleanor. I suppose that's a shame because she was the one with the looks. It's all gone now, that beauty. Snuffed out. I used to babysit when Eleanor and Martin wanted to go to the theatre or dinner with friends. It was wonderful. Stories, games, everything I could think of, way past Ben's bedtime. I'd bring crisps and lemonade round, but Eleanor never knew about that. Oh, how he loved them. I had to sweep up all the crumbs and salty bits off this carpet and rinse out his cup. Eleanor didn't believe in junk food. I suppose she was right. But I was only giving him a treat.
Of course.
I didn't do him any harm.
I'm sure you didn't.
I never see him now. In fact, I hardly saw him during that last year before Eleanor died. She didn't want me to look after him anymore.
Why was that, dear?
She joined a babysitting circle.
Do you think she found out about the crisps?
It wasn't that.
Oh.
Can't tell you the real reason.
If you don't want...
I really couldn't.
I hope you don't think I'm
No,
prying.
of course I don't.
If I'm honest with myself, I have to say I find the Harrisons rather fascinating. The idea of a murder planned right here.
Please.
I'm sorry, that was tactless.
It's all right.
Perhaps we shouldn't talk about it.
Oh, no, honestly, I don't mind. I'm sure it's done me good.
I do hope so. It's done me good, too, having someone to talk to. Now, tell me more about Eleanor.
Why did I keep on seeing Mrs. Faulkner? I told you, she listened. I think it became a kind of compulsion. Some people need drugs to feel right. I needed this contact, this spilling of myself bit by bit into Mrs. Faulkner's willing ears. Excitement. Possibly. We hedged round the nastiness of Eleanor's death, never dwelling on the broken limbs, the smashed face. I never saw Eleanor's body, but I've imagined it many times. I felt safe with Mrs. Faulkner. She held my hand while I trod on the thin ice of the past. I needed it. There wasn't much else in my life.
Don't you find that time hangs heavy on your hands, Christine? I mean, no offence, but you haven't any children or even a job.
I keep busy. And I have these chats to look forward to, Mrs. Faulkner.
I've always needed something practical to do. Children give you that.
You don't understand. I wanted children. That's why we bought such a big house. I've had all the tests. There's nothing wrong. We were just unlucky.
What a shame for you. Still, think of Eleanor. People must have thought she had all the luck. She seemed to have everything. And look what happened to her.
She had everything.
Was money a problem by any chance, or did she have that too?
We never seemed short of money, not like us. We've always had to scrimp on John's teaching salary.
What did Martin do?
Oh, he was the manager at a big garage, but he liked nothing better than getting his hands oily.
And Eleanor stayed at home and looked after Ben? Quite right,
I did have a job once, in a clothes shop in town, but I had to leave in the end. Too dreamy, they said. Unpunctual. I let the stock get in a mess, and the other girls upset me.
In what way?
They were crude. Always talking about the sex and birth control and accidents and their insides. Terrible things. There were only dreadful things in the world. Nothing clean or good. It upset me.
I can see it would. More tea, my dear.
Thanks. Here, let me.
This bot seems to be getting heavier every day.
Is your arthritis worse?
Just a bad patch. It'll be as right as rain in a few days. That fusspot of a doctor wants to give me tablets and injections.
You should have them.
I'll manage. I can still move about. I'm just a bit slow, that's all. I hate to admit it, Christine, but I'm beginning to feel this house is too much for me.
You're not thinking of moving?
Well, I'm not sure.
I would miss you.
Well, don't you worry about me. Why don't you finish off the gatto? You're so pale and thin, Christine. We can't have you wasting away.
Pale and thin. I would lie there thinking about Mrs. Faulkner, all oblivious on the other side of our bedroom wall, probably snoring gently. Eventually I'd drift away. There was a lot of red in my dreams. Fire. Blood. Does that mean something? You should know. I woke sweating, terrified I'd somehow infected her dreams. What do they call it? Telepathy. Isn't it? Is there such a thing? I half wanted her to share my terrors. It would make a kind of bond between us. Each session together became precious, even a bit desperate. Would I be able to spill myself out before she went? Would she ever understand me? I felt if anybody could, it would be Mrs. Faulkner.
I've had a letter from my daughter. Listen to this. She's going to have an extension built, she says. A sort of granny flat, but all on the ground floor to save my legs. Look, she's drawn a diagram.
You're going then?
I'll be near my grandchildren, but independent too. I insisted on that.
How long?
Oh, a few months yet. That nice Mr. Hargreaves from the estate agents is coming to value the house tomorrow. Don't look so worried, Christine. You'll soon have some new neighbours, a family perhaps, and someone you can be friends with, like you were with Eleanor.
No.
That reminds me. Bellman sent my groceries this morning. Do you know, that delivery boy is a font of knowledge. He told me.
What?
Martin Harrison is being moved to a different prison. Somewhere more lenient, he said. How gossip gets round in a small
But
town.
shouldn't a man who murdered his wife be kept somewhere safe? What if he escaped?
They must be sure he isn't a danger to anyone. Most murders are domestic, aren't they?
Jealousy.
What, dear?
It was jealousy.
It often is.
I know it was.
How can you be sure?
It must have been.
Was she meeting other men?
I don't want to talk about it.
I'm sorry.
I must go. Lots to do. Busy, very busy.
But your tea?
I wanted to tell her, why couldn't I? She would understand how dreadful it had been. I went home. I sat on the floor of my kitchen, and I spoke aloud, just as if Mrs. Faulkner was there. Mrs. Faulkner. It was one afternoon, Mrs. Faulkner, about a year before she died.
Yes, dear?
I popped around as usual and found the door locked. Eleanor never locked her door. I knew she was in. Her car was outside and I could hear Ben singing away to himself in his cot upstairs. Then I noticed the front room curtains. They were drawn, but not very carefully. I peered through the gap and saw Eleanor sprawled on the carpet with a man. It wasn't Martin. Her dress was pulled right up and she was wearing black stockings. Like a fool, I just stared. Eleanor saw me. You see, Mrs. Faulkner, she looked at me quite coolly, and then she began to smile.
Poor Christine, what on earth did you do?
I backed away from the window. I remember feeling angry. Why couldn't she pull her curtains properly? My cheeks were burning as I ran home. It was me who felt guilty.
That's why you fell out with Eleanor.
I kept thinking, how could you? Disgusting, disgusting with some stranger. And Ben, upstairs, that was the worst thing. If people can't look after their children, they shouldn't have them.
I quite agree.
I didn't go round any more. She got other people to look after Ben. We can't impose on you any longer, she said. I've joined a babysitting circle. Why should I be punished? Then I began thinking.
What?
I'd hardly seen him. Just a head, a back, a white shirt. I knew it wasn't Martin. He's got fair hair. This man was dark. Like John. John wore a white shirt that day. And I checked his timetable. A double free period that afternoon. Then I knew. No wonder she was so pally. No wonder he didn't talk to me anymore. But she already had everything. Why did she have to take what was mine?
So much unhappiness.
Then something funny happened. The less I saw of Eleanor, the more oppressed by her I became. And that was when John started getting at me about the state of the house.
So much unhappiness.
I never told him that I knew. We went on as usual.
It might have been somebody else. You can't be sure.
I told myself that often. But in my heart, I knew. They treated me as though I wasn't there. Oh. I got up off the floor to answer the phone.
It's Hilary Faulkner, dear.
But it...
Are you all right?
Yes.
I was worried about you going off suddenly like that.
I'm all right now. It was true. I felt calmer. I had more energy. I felt she understood me better. We were closer. I had to keep seeing her. To keep spilling out the truth in drops.
Oh, dear.
Let me cut the cake.
Another bought one, I'm afraid. I can't bake any more with these silly stiff fingers of mine.
From now on, I'll make something and bring it round.
But you don't like cooking.
I can be practical, you know, when I need to be. When there's a purpose in it.
Well, that's a kind offer. But if you're sure...
Quite sure.
You've restored my faith.
Oh, has something happened?
Well, I got my meat delivered this morning from that butcher's on Field Street. And do you know, both the braising steak and the mince were short weight.
Wickedness is rife. That's what the judge said at the trial.
At Martin Harrison's trial?
Yes.
I thought... No, I won't ask. I don't want you getting upset again.
I wasn't upset.
All the same, I think we should avoid the subject.
There's no need. You know it does me good to talk about it. Talking is the best therapy. That's what you said.
I'm not sure.
Well, if you don't want to know about it.
The trial? Oh, of course I'd like to hear. I had no idea you were there. Didn't you find it awfully distressing?
I had to go. I was a witness.
No.
It's true. My evidence was important. You could say it helped to convict Martin.
I'm not sure I want to hear this after all. Now, you're not...
I heard them arguing the night before it happened. It was a terrible row. They were shouting and screaming at each other. He must have found out about her.
Found out what?
About her men. She was shameless. Didn't I tell you about that? I thought I had. Of course I did. Last week, you remember?
And the day after their row?
He killed her. I had to tell the truth, didn't I?
Of course.
The worst part was before the trial. All the questions.
The police?
There was one, Inspector Molyneux, he was called. He had no feelings, no sensitivity. Do you know what he did? He searched our shed.
They didn't suspect John.
Yes, Inspector Molyneux didn't care how much she upset me. Endless questions at home, at the police station, John and me together, then separately. A waste of time and money. They knew it was Martin.
Because of the row they'd had.
That, plus the fact they found his overalls buried in the garden. They had brake fluid on them. There were traces of fluid on the secateurs in his shed too. It all came out at the trial.
And now little Ben has no mother, and his father is a convicted murderer. Oh, the sadness of it. It's terrible.
Don't, Mrs. Faulkner. It's all over now. Here.
Oh, thank you, dear. It's a sort of compulsion, isn't it? This desire to talk about dreadful things, like the girls in your shop. Perhaps we're just as bad.
No, it's not the same. Surely it's not.
Well, you've got it off your chest now. Quite honestly, Christine, I think the best thing is to put it behind you and start forgetting.
Do you think so?
No more talk of Eleanor Harrison. It's finished. Agreed?
All right. It's finished. No more talk of Eleanor. But I was nearly empty, just a few drops left. I went home feeling cheated. I wandered about aimlessly, wishing I was back in front of Mrs. Faulkner's electric fire, soaking up the waves of warmth, easing the ache. I remembered other lonely afternoons. I remembered being aware of Eleanor's presence beyond the wall. Sometimes her friends came and I could hear them laughing. But there had been a time when I was welcome, even to her dinner parties. They were relaxed, stylish affairs I couldn't hope to imitate. And afterwards John would ask, why couldn't I cook like Eleanor? Why didn't I tart myself up a bit like Eleanor did? Sometimes my head felt like it would burst when he went on at me like that. And then I found them sprawled on the floor together. I spoke aloud as though Mrs. Faulkner was sitting opposite me, nodding and smiling, encouraging me to go on. She had it all, you see, Mrs. Faulkner. Martin's love and little Ben. Her beauty and a smart home.
So much unhappiness.
But she wanted more. And she took it. Never mind my feelings. I had no existence in her eyes. I wasn't important. She took John.
Are you sure you aren't imagining this?
Then she took the child from me. I loved Ben. I know he loved me.
Of course he did.
It was your fault, Eleanor. You made me jealous. I thought you liked me. I thought we were friends, but you used me. You wanted John, and our friendship counted for nothing. Perhaps it never had any meaning. Perhaps I was always the sounding board for your many perfections. When you stopped letting me play with Ben, I began to see you differently.
She used you.
You corrupted my friendship into envy. You were so smug, so prosperous. You sucked me dry. You fed on me like a leech.
She sucked you dry.
You were all substance, and I was a shadow. I caught sight of myself in a mirror. My face was drained of colour, drained of everything, except disgust. I just wanted to give you a jolt, make you feel a bit of pain. I didn't mean to kill you, Eleanor. With one blow I smashed it. Fragments of silvered glass tumbled to the floor.
You hated her that much?
Hate? How could I hate Eleanor? Perfection is to be admired, not hated. But it had to go somewhere, all that feeling, blowing me up, weighing me down until I was a balloon filled with lead. I understand now.
You understand, yes.
Yes. She made me hate myself. Are you still there, Mrs. Faulkner?
I'm here.
Don't go. Did you know that broken glass is beautiful? Like cracked ice.
What about the car, Christine?
Oh, that... Oh, it was easy. John had borrowed one of Martin's car manuals the weekend before. I stayed up late, studied the diagrams, saw where I could cut the flexible brake pipe. I'd heard about such things. Men talk as though women are incapable of understanding. I did it in the morning, while Eleanor took Ben for a walk. I wore Martin's overalls and used his secateurs. The Harrisons never locked their shed. She went to see a friend every Tuesday while Ben was at playgroup. There's this steep hill.
What about the row they had the night before?
There was no row. John was out at a parents' evening, so it was Martin's word against mine. I got away with it. I'm not always in a dream. I can think and plan if I want to, if I really want to. Eleanor couldn't have done it better.
You killed her.
I didn't mean to.
And the boy?
I'm sorry about Ben. Afterwards I had a wild idea. We could adopt him. John soon put an end to that.
Does John know what you did?
I doubt it. He hasn't the imagination. You're the only one who knows, Mrs. Faulkner. Inspector Molyneux with his hard face and his endless questions, he couldn't get it out of me. You don't hate me. I've told you because I thought you'd understand. I had to tell someone. It was too much to carry alone. It's always better to share things, isn't it, Mrs. Faulkner? Isn't it? Mrs. Faulkner? Mrs. Faulkner? There was no answer. I crumpled to the floor and lay there a long time. Eventually I went upstairs to the bathroom. But the mirror reflected a ghost. I smashed that too. Took ages to clear up all the broken glass. It gave me something to do. The pieces of mirror were like flints. Razor sharp, I cut my fingers several times, tiny splits that sprouted blood. Before I fetched my gardening gloves. I threw the shards into the dustbin. They made a noise to wake the neighbourhood. Only there's no one else in our neighbourhood. Just Mrs. Faulkner and me. She didn't come back until night. I was waiting for her. Lying stiff and straight in my bed. Are you there, Mrs. Faulkner?
What about Ben?
He's safe. With his granny.
Child needs its mother.
I know.
You killed her.
There were reasons. She pushed me. I thought you understood.
What about the row they had? What about the car? Why did you hate her so much?
I thought I explained. It was me. I'm no good. I know that. I destroyed her. I should have destroyed myself. Forgive me.
Traffic accident.
I'm sorry.
You planned it. In cold blood.
Don't go. Come back. Where are you?
What shall I do?
I can't hear you.
Shall I tell?
No, don't tell. I only wanted you to know. You understand me, don't you?
Poor child.
Hold me.
Only 5 years old.
I never meant to harm you.
You took his mother.
No.
A child needs its mother.
Don't tell anyone.
Poor child.
I know. Mrs. Faulkner, speak to me. Please. Oh, speak to me. Next day I went for a walk. The sky was thin and clear and far away. I felt empty and light. I walked to the top of the hill above Thornton. I thought, if only I could run fast enough, I could probably take off and fly up into that glassy dome. Of course I fell over. I didn't care, nothing mattered now. I had told someone. I'll go tell all my brothers. I'll tell all my sisters. I had told her, hadn't I? She had spoken to me. She must have, or how could I feel so different, so unburdened? After that, I liked to sit at her feet and rub the swollen joints when they hurt her. I made her meringues and brandy snaps and filled them with cream.
Delicious.
Have another one.
Oh, Christine, I mustn't.
I'm having another one.
Well, you've nothing to worry about. In fact, I think you're thinner than ever. Any less of you and you'll be a shadow.
Shadows can be strong.
What, here?
I was a ghost once.
Oh, you're talking about my head again.
You know what I mean.
Do I?
You know everything.
Now you are flattering me.
She smiled, but I thought I saw a touch of steel in her blue eyes. Was she playing some sort of game? What did she really think of me?
Oh, would you massage my shoulders for me now, dear?
Of course.
It's such a relief.
More?
Please.
I massaged her pain away. Her body, despite its bulk, was quite frail. Under all that flesh, there was no strength in her.
Oh, thank you. That's much better.
Anything else?
You made me sound like a hard taskmaster. Well, since you ask, a fresh pot of tea would be lovely.
The more I did, the more she seemed to want. The blue eyes watched me, piercing my thoughts. There was a subtle balance of power between us. Then it tipped and I began to slide down. She knew everything. She might keep it to herself and let me pander to her. Or she might tell someone. Inspector Molyneux, perhaps. Each day I waited for the doorbell to ring, a policeman on the doorstep, but no one came. She was biding her time. At night I whispered to her through the wall, "What are you going to do?"
I haven't decided yet.
You're enjoying this, aren't you?
What do you mean?
You've got me where you want me. I'm like a rabbit caught in your headlights.
Shall I run you over?
It's up to you.
You destroyed her.
I didn't mean to.
Are you sure about that?
It was an accident.
Accidentally on purpose, naughty girl.
Don't tell.
You're so pale and thin, Christine.
Like a shadow.
You'll waste away.
I'll come back and haunt you.
I don't believe in ghosts.
Wickedness is rife, that's what the judge said. All right, punish me, do it, tell someone, but don't leave me like this. Not knowing.
I haven't decided yet.
Then one night, it came to me. For the first time since I looked in that car manual and saw a way to make Eleanor suffer, I felt substantial. I knew what I had to do. After John left for work, I got what I needed and set off down Crab Lane. It's not far into town. I went into the butcher's on Field Street and remembered to make a scene. Complained loudly. Make sure it's full weight, if you don't mind. There's a narrow alley off Field Street. It peters out into a rough path, and soon after that it's very overgrown. I carried on down the thorny path. It's rarely used. I don't think many people know about it. It goes along the back of our houses in Crab Lane. There are some loose slats in Mrs. Faulkner's fence. They moved easily and I squeezed through. Crouching, I ran the length of the garden. I stopped at the back door, opened it. I took the long nylon scarf which always hung there and edged into the kitchen. It was empty. Afterwards I would mess the place up, make it look like burglars. The hall was deserted too. Where are you, Mrs. Faulkner? Upstairs. No. In the living room, I think. I pulled the scarf taut in my hands, used my elbow to open the door. The handle came up smoothly without a click. How well I knew that house. Better than my own. I went in. She was sitting in an armchair half turned from me, staring out of the front window. I stood quite still. A ripple, almost a laugh, came up in my throat. She was too stiff to move quickly, too weak to fight. If I crept round behind her, she need never know. Perhaps I wanted her to know. To acknowledge I too had power and knew how to use it. What do you think? Anyway, I hesitated a moment too long. She turned round, smiling when she saw me.
Christine, have you come to help me with the packing? How kind. I've been sitting here listening to the radio, thinking how lucky I've been to have lived in this house, if only for a short while, and have had such a good neighbour. I've treasured our meetings, and I just wanted you to know that. Sometimes these things don't get said, and you'll regret it. Would you give me a hand up, my dear? Oh, thank you. Oh, is that my scarf? I must have dropped it in the hall. I'll hang it up later. Now, where shall we start? Do you know, Christine, you look paler than ever. Now, promise me you'll get out in the sunshine more often. Was there something you wanted to tell me?
I've told you.
You have? Oh, I must be getting deaf as well.
Everything.
What, dear?
You know.
Whatever it is, I'm afraid I've forgotten. Perhaps you'd like to remind me while I sort through the china. I really ought to make a start. The teachers are coming tomorrow, and I can't take everything.
Forgotten? About Eleanor? And Martin, the trial, the police, you've forgotten?
No, I remember all that, but we agreed it was too upsetting to talk about. It's nothing to do with either of us, not anymore.
You weren't listening.
Of course I was, dear.
But you didn't hear me. At night, through the walls.
Not a sound. I always sleep like a log.
You mean I imagined it?
Oh, it sounds like it. I'd like you to have these plates, Christine. They were my mother's. Here you are, dear. Oh.
It's still inside me. Like a stone, like a stillborn child.
Don't be upset. It was just an accident.
Accidentally on purpose.
But they were my mother's.
Can't carry it any longer. It's too heavy.
Sometimes I don't understand you, Christine.
I went home and phoned the police. I liked Mrs. Faulkner. Perhaps she was the only person I ever really liked. But that was the idea, wasn't it? Who planted her next door? Was it you? Or was it Inspector Molyneux? Yes. He knew all along, didn't he? Bother me no more. His mother, I suppose, of course she must have been. She must have been a Mrs. Molyneux before she married Arthur. She was a good listener, I'll give her that. Nearly as good as you, Doctor. I shall miss those cosy afternoons. But perhaps she never really liked me at all. Perhaps it was all an act. Another reason why my heart is broke is on account of you. Just wait, Mrs. Faulkner. Just wait till I get out of here.
Go away, way, way from my bedside and bother me no more. And bother me no more.
Listen to the sea, a primal sound, that sound of water washing the shore, soothing troubled spirits. I often come here for your sake, Sal, right at this very spot, and look out and remember. Memories are all I've left from those few precious days when we both thought you were mine at last. But you were never truly mine, were you? You belonged to him. He possessed from the start. That fateful day when you became his wife, I was at the church. You never knew that, did you? But I had to go. See for myself.
I, Humphrey Ramsden Child, take thee, Salome Clare Miles, to be my lawful wedded wife.
I, Salome Clare Miles, take thee, Humphrey Ramsden Child, to be my lawful wedded husband.
He, middle-aged, sallow, solid, defective. And his mother, Harriet, veiled and slumped in a wheelchair at the back, gibbering throughout the ceremony. I never understood till later. And in the midst of it all, you, my darling, a sacrificial lamb.
Perfection. The moon's up already. You look flushed, my dear.
Oh, do I? I suppose I am a bit. Just I'm glad it's all over, the ceremony. I feel I can be more relaxed now. Begin to
The
enjoy
ceremony
myself.
was the consecration of our vows, Salome. It may be unduly formal to some, but for me it is most fitting for such an important moment in our lives.
Of course, I wasn't meaning to be critical.
I take all my marriage vows seriously, every one of them.
Meaning I don't.
For better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health. That's how much we are now a part of one another, together from now on.
Till death us do part?
Oh, no. Not just until then, but beyond. That's my conviction, Salome. Marriage joins more than our hearts, it binds our souls. Beyond death, throughout eternity.
After that, I tried to forget, to stop thinking about you both. Together. The pain was still too great. Then about 2 years later, that letter came begging me to meet you. It took courage, you knew that. But in that curious little tea shop, you offered a picture of life at Seaton Manor with Humphrey. His passions for boating, for moths, his house, the small talk of marriage. His mother. I wasn't convinced that you were entirely honest. But I listened, and against my better judgment, I accepted your invitation. I always found it difficult to say no to you, Sal. And you'd assured me I'd have little to do with Humphrey. But on a balmy September night in 1938, I found myself sitting on that ill-fated houseboat of his.
Put on the gramophone, Mary.
Good old Humphrey, always one to defy superstition.
How do you mean?
Well, count, how many places?
13.
13 at dinner. Very unlucky, some would say.
Did you say 13? Oh, my God, Teddy's right. That's
Wrong, Florence.
Did you realise there were 13 of us?
Of course.
You would.
You mean this was intended? Naturally. And then you're not superstitious? About 13 seated at dinner? Yes. Of course I'm superstitious. But I have always maintained that human fear can be used to good effect.
Humph, dear, make yourself clear. I'm not following this one little bit.
I think Florence means that it's bad luck to seek 13 at
I
dinner.
know she does.
It could mean someone's going to die or something like that at any rate.
Yeah, not another death.
Oh, don't worry yourself, Heather. Just a bit of nonsense.
Isn't there a play which starts with the guests suddenly realising that they make 30 at the table, but by Priestley or someone?
Barry, I think. Ah, you spoke, Mr. Temple.
I was just clarifying something for your wife, that's all.
Of course there's no truth in this consequent death business, but it makes a damn fine topic for table conversation, doesn't it, Mr. Temple? Nothing better than to stir up the crew's complacency just before embarking on a substantial meal, don't you think, Mr. Temple? You've all found your places. Salome has made such exquisitely delicate little name tags for you all. And now the first course, I think.
What a little moonlight can do.
So, you're a friend of Humphrey's, Mr. Temple?
Please, call me John, Miss...
I'm Heather Fleming. That's my husband, Andrew, sitting over there next to Edward Scrivener.
And I'm not exactly a friend of Mr. Childs. I've known Salome, since we were children.
Oh, really? Oh, that's nice. Well, nice for her. Here's the main course. Humphrey always serves superb food, quite delicious.
You'll get bored. You can't resist.
Everything looks so beautiful, darling, just like dining on a big Atlantic liner.
I'd enjoy myself a good deal more if that infernal Fleming woman stopped gossiping with your friend.
Heather, well, she's a dear, and she doesn't gossip. She's just trying to feel at home.
I don't see it's any right of hers to make people feel at home. She's my guest. Yet she insists on masquerading as some pretentious hostess.
Absurd. What's got into you tonight? This is meant to be a happy occasion, our wedding anniversary.
Yes,
Oh,
but
do keep your voice down. She'll hear you. Well-intentioned. And you've always said so. She's a good woman.
Now I find her presence intolerable.
We couldn't have excluded the Flemings tonight. Heather loves coming, and she's always been like a mother to me.
Andrew's all right. I can't think how the old boy tolerates that infernal prattle day in, day out. If she belonged to me, I'd find a way to silence her, teach her a lesson.
It's all right, everyone. Don't panic. Ted was just showing us his famous egg balancing act, and he's blown the salt all over the table.
Oh, if you want to pick on your guess, you do no worse than making an example of Florence. She's so vulgar. That awful laughter. If ever a man suffered constant humiliation, it's not Andrew Fleming, but Ted.
As always, you miss my point. There is no pretension in Oke. She's clean, unadulterated cheapness. An exquisite concoction of all that is worldly and destined for the moth and rust.
Sometimes you talk in riddles.
Not till you solve them.
You seem to laugh and to smile just all of the while.
Of course, it came as a great surprise to us when Humphrey announced he was getting married. A confirmed bachelor married to Seaton Manor in this old boat. And of course, there was his mother, you know, absolutely devoted to her he was. Took her death very much to heart.
Oh, really?
Well, they said it was senile dementia, and it was worse than that, and the poor dear eventually had to be committed. Must have been all of 8 years ago now.
I never realised.
Humphrey never breathes a word. Well, it's not the sort of thing one broadcasts, is it? Dear, you'll think me a morbid old thing talking like this over such a lovely meal, and when I have a charming young man for company. Now, don't misunderstand me, John. We're so glad Salome came into Humphrey's life when she did. There was a time we really feared he'd go the same way as his mother. You see, the locals started spreading all kinds of rumours, strange behaviour and all that. We never saw any evidence of it ourselves, and we never set store by any such gossip. One can't in the country. Personally, I just think Humphrey's one of life's eccentrics.
He certainly has an individual taste in clothes.
All this gossip started about 10 years back. People claim that Humphrey was indulging in unnatural practices, whatever that might mean. They say he stole dogs from the village and took them back here to the estate. They were never seen again. And then headless sheep were supposedly found entangled in some barbed wire at the entrance to the manor. They claimed Humphrey had ritualistically slaughtered them. Oh, dreadfully far-fetched. And quite honestly,
Ladies and gentlemen, can I have your attention for a minute?
Okay, please.
Oh, I'd like to propose a toast to the happy couple. I'll give you Umph and Salome. Happy anniversary. Many more to follow.
Humphrey, Salome.
Humph. Now you should give a speech, a response.
Please, Ocky, sit down.
No, I want to speak.
Nobody doesn't
You've got to
want
make
to
a speech, Humphrey. It's traditional. It's what Harriet... It's what your mother would have wished.
Oh, dear, I don't think she should have said that.
Friends, I am encouraged by my cousin Florence to address you. I intend to be brief. Turn down the music, Mary. We meet tonight to celebrate a special anniversary.
Here.
But in our celebrating, let us not forget our debt to the past. Until 2 years ago, as you know, Seaton Manor had long been mourning its true mistress, my mother Harriet. Let us remember that it was my mother who breathed life, who fashioned. She, from whose loving touch no nook or cranny was spared. She whose spirit even now I sense within, encircling us at dinner.
Oh, he's giving me the trees.
Though her body is passed from us, let us not forget her.
Yeah.
But then, exactly 2 years ago, I finally caught my beautiful Salome and brought her home. She is young in years, and, like a pretty little moth, must bat against the light that Harriet has left behind. But before you all tonight, I make this solemn vow. My house I hold most dear, my estate I hold most dear, and my wife, my most valued possession, I also hold most dear. I have her, and in time-honoured fashion, I will keep her. I offer a toast to us, to life, to death, and to the hereafter. There's your speech, Florence, and I trust, my beloved Salome, that your appetite for occasion is duly sated.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you care to make your way back to the house, I'll organise the sweet trolley to be brought out on the terrace.
Care for a little snifter while we await the arrival of coffee, Tom?
Jolly nice of you, old boy. What you got?
Oh, a nice Armagnac, a fine malt.
Malt will do fine. Nothing like a drop of the to round off a perfect evening.
Oh, Heather, we haven't had a chance to talk yet. Did you enjoy the meal?
Delicious. Your wife is such an
Tell me,
excellent...
how's your son getting on at the bar?
He's doing very well.
Oh,
He's so proud.
splendid.
Sorry to interrupt you, Humphrey, but could you direct me to the little girl's room?
Sorry? Little girl's room? Oh, you mean the lavatory, Heather. When you reach the house, up the stairs, straight in front of you, and it's the first door on the right. Oh, by the way, forgive the smell there. We've only just finished decorating.
Thank you, dear. Urgent, you see, too much bubbly.
Oh, and Heather...
Yes?
If you need a hand towel, they're in the large closet just behind the bathroom door. Just help yourself.
Yes, I will.
Now, Major, what about that malt?
Sal, are you all right?
Of course. Why?
Humphrey's little speech back there was an outrage.
I thank you not to insult my husband, not while you're here as his guest.
I'm not his guest, and he's under no illusion about that either.
People always misunderstand. He was just being funny, that's all.
Funny? Oh, I see. Just as he was about the 13 people at dinner, upsetting Mrs. Fleming with all that talk of death and superstition.
Oh, now you're going over the top. Heather knows Humphrey better than anyone.
Enough to think him strange at times. Eccentric.
What do you mean?
Come on, Sal, he's warped. His whole behaviour makes it so blatantly obvious. He's contemptuous of everyone here tonight. And what's worse, that contempt clearly extends to you. He has no regard for your feelings.
That is quite enough. He's worth 10 of you put together.
That's not true. There's something very wrong here. I can't quite put my finger on it, but the whole place exudes a sense of misery and oppression. I felt it as soon as I arrived yesterday. And Humphrey's performance tonight has convinced me I'm right.
Oh, that's nonsense, John. Now stop it.
You know I'm talking sense, Sal. You felt it too. That's why you wrote to me. Wanted to see me. Insisted I should come and stay. You could have told me when you said you wouldn't feel settled until I'd visited you here, and now I realise why. This is no marriage of kindred souls. There's no love here. With some kind of bondage.
I love him, John. Love him.
Good Lord. Did you hear that? Sounds like some wretched animal caught in a trap.
Do you keep any animals?
No, nothing like that. That Humphrey detests them.
Anyone seen Heather?
I think she went into the house to the bathroom. She wasn't sure of the way.
Oh, it's upstairs.
Andrew, I think your wife's been taken ill.
Oh,
dear. Come on, we must go inside.
Oh. Yes.
Where's Humphrey? Humphrey? Where are you?
Quick, which way's the bathroom?
Upstairs. Follow me.
Where's the light?
It's swinging at the other end. I'll lead you. We refurbished the first floor. We decided to keep the main bathroom there. Humphrey's mother used it. Next door to our rooms are very convenient.
Are we there yet?
It's just at the top here.
Put a light on, I can't see a thing.
This is the bathroom here. The switch is outside somewhere.
Yes, we'll have to feel for it.
Found it.
Oh my God! There are moths everywhere. Heather!
Oh, she's here!
Oh dear God, they're all over her. Quickly, give me a hand. We've got to get them off. It's her eyes everywhere. What a minute. All right, Heather. All right, you'll soon be okay. I'm going to try to get a window open and get these things out of here.
Heather, it's Salome. Can you hear me? You're all right. You're going to be fine. You've had a bad shock. Just sit here with me for a while. Andrew will be up soon. And when you're better, we'll go downstairs.
Oh, God, what's happened?
Oh, somehow Heather's stumbled onto some of Humphrey's moths.
What's going on? Don't just stand there like some great gormless lump. The whole girl needs brandy.
Heather! It's all right, Mr. Fenner. The wife's had a bit of a shock, but she's fine. It's all right. They've gone. They've all gone.
You're safe. You're safe now, darling.
Where on earth could these have come from? There's hundreds of them.
They're Humphrey's. He collects them. But I can't think how they got to the bathroom.
I couldn't help it. They came out and they fluttering. They were suffocating.
Yes, it's just a little accident. They'll soon have you right as rain. Oh, girl.
I thought I was going to die. We'd better get her into the fresh air.
Yes, of course. Here, perhaps you and Ted can take her downstairs.
Yes.
Andrew, there's some smelling salts downstairs in the kitchen, but please take some.
I've a number of a good emergency doctor in Burslton. I say, anyone notice the smell? For a moment I thought the old girl had... Oh, you know, when someone's had a bad shock, perfectly normal.
Yes, I noticed it too. Sickly, sweet.
Something has very decidedly gone off.
It seems to be strongest over here. Wait a minute. I guess there's something at the bottom of this closet. Anyone got any matches?
Lighter?
No, it doesn't matter. I can reach inside.
Oh, what is it?
Something warm and moving.
Moving?
Stand back, everyone. Whatever it is, I think it's best to drag it out into the open.
Oh. What is it?
It's a dead dog. Very badly decomposed. Seething with maggots. How on earth did it get in here?
Oh,
I expect Humphrey put it there.
Oh, I can't stand any more of this. I'm going to get myself a brandy.
What do you mean, Humphrey put it there? In a bathroom cupboard, for God's sake.
Some of his moths are carrion feeders. They need flesh for food. Humphrey's told me that before now. He must have put the dog here.
God knows who the poor thing belonged to. Look, it's still got a collar round its neck. And where the hell is Humphrey? He called us all in here.
What does it matter, John? Let's just get rid of it and forget about this.
Forget? Oh, that would be too easy. Yes, let's forget. While some poor defenceless old lady lies half delirious downstairs because of your husband's disgusting hobbies. Never in a lifetime.
Look, just because... doesn't mean...
More than unusual. I'll tell you what your husband's tastes are. Perverse. I'm beginning to realise some of the rumours about him are probably true. This is no marriage, Sal. It's some hideous, bizarre charade. When I leave this room, I'm going straight downstairs and out through that front door. And I want you to come with me. What is the matter? Why are you so frightened?
I can't, John. I can't leave him. I love him.
It's a lie. You can't possibly love him.
I do. I do.
Listen to him. The man is mad. He's not safe, Sal. Come with me now while there's still time.
No, I can't.
Please.
I can't. Please. You can't make me. You don't understand.
Then I can't help you.
No. No, don't leave me.
I can't do any more. You've made your choice. You're free to do so. I loved you. I lost you. I found you again. And now...
Oh, no, John, don't. I beg of you. Don't go tonight. You just don't understand.
God be with you, Salome. You must live this nightmare alone.
Why have you done this to me?
For better, for worse.
Why did you upset our guests? Where were you when Heather had her accident?
I'm a Lorelei in reverse. I lure them onto rocks. They crash upon the rocks of life into the tides of death.
No. Oh, my God.
Don't you think I look fetching today, my love? Isn't it a beautiful dress?
Where did you find that, Humphrey? Take it off.
Oh, you know my son, I see.
Your son?
That's right. He's a good boy.
Stop it. This is grotesque. Stop it, Humphrey.
Oh, no. I'm not Humphrey Child. My name's Harriet Child. I can wear my hair in a bun now, but I still have a little problem with my beard.
Dr. Matthews. It's Salome Child. Yes, straight away. I don't know how this started, but he's on the roof and he has a dog and he's threatening to set it alight. Oh.
I'm sorry, my medication can't help anymore. He needs something much stronger. He's going the same way as his mother.
Committed.
I fear it's in the blood.
Committed, Dr. Matthews.
Mrs. Child, there's every chance your husband is no longer harmless. I believe him to be criminally insane.
Criminally insane? Can nothing be done?
Nothing. Mrs. Child, it's for the best. We have stronger drugs there. He'll respond. He'll be quite comfortable.
No. Dr. Matthews! What are they doing?
Trying to give him an injection to calm him down. It happens in these cases.
What's happened now?
He's all right.
I must go to him.
Mrs. Child.
Oh, my God!
I'm afraid the straitjacket was necessary. I really didn't want you to see.
But you did want to see, didn't you, Salome? Ah, see how my moth flutters now. You may think I'm mad, but I tell you, I know secrets of the universe You couldn't even guess.
Come away, Mrs. Child. This is all too distressing.
That's right, Mrs. Child. Do what the nice says. But wherever they take you, I shall find you. You're mine, Salome, forever. You promised me, till death us do part, remember? And I tell you, death shall not part us, not part us.
Death. Humphrey Child seemed preoccupied by death and dying. For 6 months you tried to save him, then you wrote again, begging me to help. I couldn't believe what he'd done to you. That haunted look. I wanted to take you away. But again, you insisted on staying. Even in madness, he had a good sense of timing, as though he was playing with us all. Then suddenly, for you, my darling, that merciful release.
Only called to pass on our respects. When did it happen?
Of course, I blame her. Never really gave the poor man a chance. If you ask me, she only married him for his money. It's obvious she didn't love him. He was too good for her.
I want only a small affair. Just
ashes
family.
to ashes, dust to dust. Humphrey Ramsden Child, 5 years beloved husband of Salome Clare Child. Death shall not part us.
Shall not part us. I have her, and in time-honoured fashion I shall keep her, keep her, keep her.
3 weeks after the funeral, you became my wife. A quiet affair, you insisted, nothing grand. I, John Temple, take thee, Salome Clare Child, to be my lawful wedded wife.
I, Salome Clare Child, take thee, John Temple, to be my lawful wedded husband.
But how I drank in your smiles, and the promise that we were alone now for the rest of our lives. I was determined to savour every moment. Our honeymoon should have been perfect.
You're very bright this morning.
And why not? I feel the sun shining on me. Suddenly life is good. I'm happy and fulfilled. And I've got my pipe, a tin of my favourite baccy. Yes, and I've got my girl Sal.
Careful! The eggs!
Oh, it's all right. Save them.
Oh, you're a romantic, John Temple. I always suspected it beneath all that tweed and pipe smoke.
If a fellow can't be romantic on his own honeymoon, then there's no justice in the world.
Oh, I still can't believe it. It's like a dream. Oh, I'm so frightened I'll wake up and all this will disappear.
Now stop all that maudlin business. Right, you ready? Big or little helping of our special scorched scrambled egg.
Burnt, more like it.
Coffee?
Oh, please.
Milk?
Just as it comes, you know me.
I like to think I do.
Oh, delicious.
Can't beat it, really, can you, all this? The isolation? I've loved it all my life.
I never really went sailing. Oh, we dined on that night. He called it Daisy. Stupid name for a boat. Oh, but he was very fond of it. Used to sail by night, studying moths along the river. Never took me with him.
Now, you don't have to think about any of that. It's all past history. You're Mrs. John Temple now.
Oh, I know. It makes me feel very safe somehow.
Really?
Of course.
Have I behaved very selfishly?
Why?
Making you a marriage offer at a time when I knew it would be hard for you to refuse.
John, they took Humphrey away over a year ago. During that last 12 months of his life, well, he was in no sense of the word a husband to me. Oh, he used to get very abusive. And that business of dressing up like a woman, well... In the end, I think he really believed he was his mother.
Darling, please.
No, it's good to tell you. It helps. He always used to say he'd find me, though. Wherever you are, little moth, I'll find you. That was always the worst bit, like a threat. I used to lie awake at nights, anxious, in case he escaped and came looking for me. It's silly, isn't it?
I don't think so.
You know, when you finally wrote to me after Humphrey went away, I felt as if I'd been rescued. I can't describe the sense of relief.
I kept my word. I only had to wait for the inevitable, and I knew you might accept me at last. I knew it was just a question of time. What's that line?
There's a destiny that shapes our ends, rough hew them how we will, or something like that.
Oh, you show off.
No, not really. I just want to make up for all the time we've missed. Introduce you to all my old haunts.
So that's why you wanted to come here.
We needed somewhere private. What could be more perfect? Alone on Windhover 2. It was the perfect solution. Our own little island.
Set in a silver sea.
Mm-hmm. I see more like. I had a dip when I got up. Talk about goose pimples. Good job I've got a strong heart.
All the better for having me in it.
Happy?
Oh, I think so.
Only think so.
It was a bit of a shock last night, passing Seaton Manor.
Too many ghosts, you mean?
I hadn't been back since the day Humphrey was taken to the asylum. At the time I simply walked out and left it, but it still came as a shock. I suppose I hadn't realised just how close we'd be.
I only called you on deck to see those gannets flying against that brilliant sunset. Never even noticed the house.
Strange, it wasn't the memories that upset me. It was the way the place had deteriorated that hit me most. The whole place seemed to be rotting. I always felt it was watching me. Angry at me for going away.
Good Lord!
What on earth was that?
Some bloody idiots round the side.
You stupid fool! Why didn't you look what you're doing?
Oh, sorry we bumped into you, old man. Wife had a spot of trouble with the oars.
What is it, darling?
I told you.
Florence!
I said to Ted, I thought I'd seen Salome, child. I saw you, not a care in the world, taking the sun, weren't you, yesterday morning? Of course you were. I knew it was you. That's why I said to Ted, didn't I? I said, if
yes,
we need
okay.
some shackles, why don't we row the dinghy over tomorrow morning and find out if that white boat's got any to spare? And if it is Salome, child, I said, she'll... So won't you, Salome?
This lady isn't Mrs. Child anymore. She's my wife. My name is Temple, John Temple. We don't have any spare shackles, and if you don't mind, right now I'd like to inspect the damage.
Oh, dear, we appear to have put our foot in it as usual. Dearie me, well,
Simply
I
didn't
never.
realise so soon after poor old
John,
Humphrey.
darling, this is Florence Scrivener and her husband Edward.
Ted, please. How do you do?
He was a bit scraped about the stern.
Didn't we meet once at my cousin Hump's place, Seaton's?
I don't remember.
Of course we did. Same night old Ma Fleming took a wrong turn and got bats or something.
Moths, dear. Lots of giant moths.
Oh, well, something flappy.
Would you like to come on board? John was just making some coffee.
Oh, no, I don't think that's a very good idea, especially after the paint business.
We really ought to be on our way, Ocky.
Nice running into you again. Oh, Lord. Listen to that, running into you. Mind you, I wouldn't have recognised the old tub. Tarted it up a bit by the looks of things. Much better shape than I remember it. Humph had it painted pink, as I recall.
This is not Humphrey's boat, it's mine. And honestly, we don't have any shackles to spare.
Oh, don't worry about that. We'll make out somehow. Well, you know, I can't believe it. Humph dead and buried not long since, and look at you now, dear. Positively blooming.
Oh.
How long is it since?
A month, Florence, almost to the day. After all, you should know. I seem to remember you were at the funeral in full black.
Really? Only a month? How interesting. He was a remarkable man, my cousin, very remarkable. I wonder what he would make of his little Salome remarrying quite so soon.
My wife's name is Salome, as you well know.
Okay, time we were going. Outstay the old welcome and all that.
Oh, never could stand pussyfooting around. Sorry about the paint. Goodbye, Salome.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Hateful woman.
He was trying to stop her.
Is the damage bad?
No, not really. Just scraped off the paint along there, see? So bloody careless. Flaming amateurs. Kind of awful people, those two.
Yes, I never liked them. Although Ted seemed all right. I mean, he's quite nice in his own way.
You know, I think we'll make a push ahead of schedule. It's getting a bit crowded round here, and I'd like to get to Collett's farm by mid-afternoon. Do you mind?
Oh, not a bit. After seeing those two, I feel I want to move away from Seaton for good.
And I thought we'd left your past behind for good as well. Until later that evening. We'd been sitting on deck after supper when I suddenly spotted that boat again. We'd seen it once already the night before. A curious-shaped thing with cut-down mast, painted an awful sort of pink and exuding an air of neglect. I was joking about people's taste when you abruptly said it was too cold to stay on deck and went below.
What are you looking at?
Nothing.
Come on, what was it?
These, some photos. old photos of Seaton and the boat. I was just
You
seeing...
mean his boat? Is this where he used to sail?
Yes, now and then. Sometimes he kept it not far from here. Oh, John, it's odd, but I don't know how these came to be here at all. I found them in my suitcase when I unpacked it. It's almost as if someone put them there.
Sal, it's all over. Humphrey Child is dead. Everything is all right, isn't it?
Oh, I suppose so.
Of course it is. Look, you hop into bed. Give me those, and I'll tear them up. Chuck them overboard. Commit them to the waves. And then I'll join you for an early night. We can wash up in the morning. Sally, it's okay. It's okay, I'm here. I'm here. Nothing can hurt you. Nothing.
I thought I'd woken up, but all I could see was Humphrey's face, grinning down at me, and his voice calling out my name. And I felt something beating in my face. I screamed and woke up. It was a giant moth. Over there by the mat, I heard it when I brushed it away. It's still there crawling.
Bloody brute! There, that's you finished.
Oh, John!
And you, my girl, start by coming clean about that boat we saw. It's Humphrey's old bark, isn't it?
I think so.
What do you mean, think so? You know it is.
Oh, yes,
You recognised it when we
all
saw it last night?
Yes, all right. I did. What was the point in telling you? I knew you'd be upset, and besides, I'm convinced it's following me.
Oh, brilliant. We see the same boat 2 times, and now it's following you.
No! I've seen it more than twice. The first night we docked at Skipper's, I saw it then. I thought nothing of it, but when it appeared the next evening, I began to worry.
You said nothing? Nothing? I am your husband, remember?
That doesn't mean you own me. You can't order me to tell you everything.
You are coming with me right now. We're going to take the dinghy, and we're going on board that pink wreck.
No.
You are going to meet the people who have obviously hired it for a holiday. And you're going to send these bloody, stupid ideas about phantom ships pursuing you right back to Davy Jones's locker where they belong.
No! No, please don't make me. I beg of you, Humphrey.
What did you call me?
Sorry.
I'm sorry. You called me Humphrey.
I thought... Your face, I'm sorry for a moment. It was Humphrey's.
It's gone. The blight is gone. I saw it. It was there only 5 minutes ago. You're let off this time, Sal. But the next time we see that wretched boat...
I'm going to bed.
Damn you, Humphrey. About last night. We need to talk.
I know. There are so many things I haven't told you, but I was trying to forget the past, like you said, and not let my memories upset me.
I shouldn't have lost my temper. I'm sorry. It was unforgivable.
It wasn't like you. I've never heard such anger in your voice before, such intensity. I didn't believe you could be so violent.
Yes, it scared me too. I just completely lost control. I'm very sorry. It'll never happen again. Never. I promise.
Look, I know it's nonsense, but Humphrey's face last night, it was so vivid, so real. And he was here again this morning, the moth. I felt it touching my mouth. I felt it. I felt it crawling over my skin, and I heard it beating its wings. Oh, John, I didn't tell you the whole truth last night. I have seen Humphrey's boat twice, but I was so frightened. It seemed to rise up, slowly out of the water.
What?
I didn't tell you, because...
Sal.
It looked more and more decayed, more broken up, as if possessed by something rotten and evil. I can't explain. I was drawn to it. It was waiting for me, watching me. I could sense something drawing me down into the water. It's calling me. But don't let me go. You mustn't trust me, do you understand? You must stop me, whatever happens, stop me. We must return to land now, immediately.
Very well.
I want to be locked in the cabin.
But
If you don't, it will claim me without question. He will claim me. He really did love me, you know.
And I love you too. Remember that. You're safe now, darling. Nothing can claim you.
About another half-mile, Sal, and we can land. Can't say I won't be relieved to put ashore.
My God! What was that? She's out of control. Swinging to port. Stop. It's Humphrey's boat. Rising out from the water. Rotted almost through. My God, the speed.
Salome! Salome! Death shall not part us.
You shall not have her! She's mine! And mine she shall stay!
Humphrey's voice. I swear I heard it. What? Oh my God, it's one of those giant moths. No, not my mouth.
I've come to claim what's mine, Salome. Till death us do part, my dear.
No, Humphrey. I'm not ready. Oh, please. Please leave me alone. John, help me! Open the door, please! Please open this door!
He can't hear you, my beloved. He has thoughts only for his precious boat. Come with me now. I've come to take you home. To my son.
It's over, Sal. We're all right. It's over. Sally. Sally. Sal. Sal. Sally. Sally. Oh, no. Oh, no, not that, please, God. Not that.
You'd gone, of course. Though there was no sign of a struggle, nothing at all to suggest that you'd ever been there. Just a moth on your pillow, broken, dying. It was as if you'd never been my wife, Salome, never existed, just nothing, no body, no grave, nothing. All I have left is my heart, my memories. I pray to God that the sea, and only the sea, has yours.
I have her, and in time-honored fashion I shall keep her. Keep her. Keep her.
It's a lovely day today, so whatever you got to do, you've got a lovely day to do it in.
Thanks, Benedict.
And you got something to
I'd be so happy to be doing it with.
Hello, Simon Evans here.
Simon, it's James.
Hello, James. What can I do for you?
Have you heard about the Warden?
No. What's the old sod done
Well,
now?
he's died. That's what he's done.
God.
Yeah, he's died while he's having his breakfast.
I'm sorry.
Yes, it's a heart attack.
Bit young for that, wasn't he?
Well, that's the trouble with the ticker. It never knows the time. Well, the show's about to begin now, and no mistake, Simon. Poor old Fitzsimmons, he never smoked or drank for fear of dying, and then he goes and does it while eating.
I hope this table's all right for you.
It's fine.
It's my favourite eating place, actually. Well, one of them. Large meals, low price. Good food, though, very good.
I certainly hope so.
I wouldn't have brought you otherwise.
And are you worried about prices?
No. My editor pays working expenses, of course, but why waste? I don't see the point in wasting money.
I feel the same about time. I hope this isn't going to take too long.
Oh, it's been very good of you to give me your time, Mr. Montague. I appreciate it.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Can I get you something to drink while you study the menu?
Mr. Montague?
Some red wine, I think.
Fine. We'll have a bottle of brewing.
Certainly, sir. I shan't be a moment.
Well, now, shall I start with the questions?
I hope there's only going to be a few.
Certainly.
It is what you said on the telephone.
And I'll be true to my word. And as I say, I'm grateful for your time.
Well, in the way that you think a good meal for a little money is a bargain, I feel the same about a good meal for a few questions.
Right, then. Tell me first about All Saints College.
Well, it's rather unusual in that there are no students and few educational responsibilities to take into account. It's created by Henry III as a graduate-only foundation. Some of its fellows are resident, but many are dispensed all over the world. I suppose you could call it a sort of medieval think tank. The wine.
Your wine, gentlemen. Would you like me to pour a little?
No, that's fine, thank you. We'll help ourselves.
I was just told by another waiter, sir, that you are Mr. Lang. I'd like to say how much I enjoy your articles each week.
Oh, good heavens, fame. And what is it exactly that you like?
Well, I suppose we all like to know what's going on behind the scenes, don't we? Are you ready to order yet? I'd certainly recommend the stuffed aubergines.
Another 5 minutes, I think.
I'll come back later then, excuse me.
Right. I'll pour, shall I? Well, here's to us, and a good article. One that pleases the waiter, anyway.
Cheers.
Now then, Mr. Montague, the college.
Well, as I was saying, it's regarded as something of a
medieval think tank, I believe you said.
Yes, that's right. But indeed, its critics will say that it's gone further and further back into history. However, its fellows are some of the leading figures in the country, and indeed internationally. For example, there's Willie Henshaw, Privy Councillor, Queen's Counsel, Knight Bachelor, Chairman of the 2 Royal Commissions, author of a major report to the Governor and Court of the Bank of England, and an international corporate lawyer.
Mr. Montague.
And then there's Lord Siegenthaler, a recently retired cabinet minister.
Mr. Montague.
And Matthew Moore, regarded as the finest Middle Eastern archaeologist of his generation. Those are just some of the names. But as you can see, the college is rather a unique place.
Mr. Montague, excuse me, but I know the history of the college.
Then why did you ask me here? I thought that's what you wanted to talk about.
Tell me about the Warden.
Well, that too is a position which is rather unique, despite the college being described by many as archaic. Nevertheless, to be its warden elevates that person to the status of an unofficial chairman of the establishment.
That's not what I want to know, Mr. Montague.
Oh? What is it you do want to know?
I want to know about his death.
I beg your pardon?
Look, I know he died of a heart attack. Everybody does. What everybody doesn't know is what kind of cat has been put amongst the pigeons by that death? That's what I want to know.
Look, wait a moment.
I mean, there's going to be one hell of a struggle for the position of new warden, isn't there? I'd like to know about it. I'd like you to tell me.
Mr. Lang, on the telephone you said to me that you wished to talk about the history of the college.
Isn't that what we're doing?
You know perfectly well that I cannot discuss any forthcoming election for the post of warden.
Who are the favourites?
I would talk about the history of the college and nothing else.
Who are the favourites?
You must excuse me. I'm leaving. I came under a misunderstanding.
Are the names you mentioned candidates for the post? Could be quite a fight.
Look, I have nothing further to say, and what is more, I hope that you have forgotten what I've said so far.
Willie Henshaw, Lord Siegenthal, Matthew Moore. Sorry, but I'm a reporter, you see. Names stick like glue.
A scandalmonger is what you are. I see now why the waiter said he enjoyed your articles. What was it he said? We all like to know what's going on behind the scenes.
And we do. And it's my job to find out.
And it's my job to see that All Saints College maintains a certain dignity and does not sell itself for aubergines.
Mr. Montague, we don't really have a problem here.
I certainly don't. Goodbye.
If you just told me the facts of the matter, it may help prevent some of the what you call scandalmongering.
Go to hell, Mr. Lang. I'm sorry. Go to hell.
Are you one of the candidates?
I'm telling you nothing more.
You told me nothing I didn't already know as it is. And what about the names you didn't tell me? What about Tom Ducatis, who's off to the Library of Congress any day now? Max von Ehrenberg, who's off to the archives in Venice? And there's Susan Shines. What are the few women fellows elected? What about Simon Evans? You didn't mention him either.
What about them?
I just want to know how they feel about the election. Who they're supporting and why not. Who's the favourite for the job, Mr. Montague? I mean, what's the big secret? For God's sake, I'm not asking you to tell me who really shot Kennedy.
Shall I tell you something, Mr. Lang? You're not a reporter at all. You're a little nosy bastard sniffing around for trouble.
And shall I tell you something, Mr. Montague? I think it's you who's favourite for the job, am I right?
And what if I am?
Nothing. It's not me who's making a big fuss about this.
Thanks for the wine. Goodbye.
Hardly touch the stuff. Bloody waste of money.
Is your friend leaving, sir?
So it would seem, so it would seem.
Are you staying to eat, sir?
What else is there to do at 1:15 on dark afternoon? Yes, I'm staying to eat.
Then may I take your order, sir?
Tell me, my friend, the reason you like my articles? Is it because you enjoy poking your inquiring little nose into other people's mess-ups?
Well, I wouldn't put it quite like that, sir.
No, don't suppose you would.
Your order, sir?
Well, for a start, you can stuff your aubergines.
Pretty sound,
Gentlemen, I know we're not all here, more's the pity, but as senior fellow, I think I have to say that while, of course, we are all excessively burdened by our responsibilities to a grateful world, the time has come to put on our collective caps. I hope you all have your thinking caps with you somewhere and haven't altogether lost them on the road to prestige.
I don't think this is a funny matter, Lord Medway.
Did I say it was? Quite the contrary. In fact, the choosing of a new warden is a task to which we must apply ourselves with a seriousness we reserve normally to the choosing of people we invite to dinner.
Then let's get on with it.
Exactly. Tell me, gentlemen, what do you think of the candidates so far, and their chances?
Well, speaking for myself, it looks as though it's going to be a real battle of bastards. Or perhaps I should say it's going to be a bastard of a battle.
Yes, perhaps you should, yeah.
I would have thought, though, that Montague would be the obvious choice.
Yes, he'll certainly take the first ballot, there's no doubt of that. How do you feel about Simon Evans?
Well, he's a very popular chap, of course, but sometimes that works against a candidate, and he has the look of someone not really expecting to win.
As opposed to Matthew Moore, who has the look of someone who can't possibly be defeated.
Arrogant bugger.
Good track record, though. Granted, there's quite a few candidates, and they've all got records of which to be excessively proud, but there's certainly something about Moore and the way he wears those endless medals of archaeological merit around his neck that makes him very much a front-runner. And what's more, he desperately wants to be warden.
Yes, to tell you the truth, his eagerness is already rather sickening. However, I still think James Montague is the one who will come out tops.
Hello, James Montague here. Oh, hello. Well, yes, of course. Come round straight away. No, not at all. I'll see you. One moment. Simon. Come on in, then.
I hope I'm not disturbing you.
No, I was going to phone you anyway.
It's about the election.
Yes, I thought it might be.
Is it true?
Well, if you mean am I not taking part, yes, it's perfectly true.
You're really not standing?
No, more than that, I'm not even going to express a preference as to who has the post. I'm simply going to sit back and watch the fun. Anyway, what are you worrying about, my dear boy? Leaves the field more open for you.
I don't think I'm in with much of a chance, James.
Oh, nonsense. Don't underestimate yourself. You stand a very good chance.
But there's a lot of tough opposition.
Well, of course, you'd expect that for such a post.
I'm still surprised that you've backed out. You were the favoured candidate, you know, and rightly so.
Maybe, but I don't have the guts for combat anymore.
I don't think I do either.
Yes, and who do you think does?
Well, Matthew Moore, certainly.
Oh, yes, dear old Matthew. A man so riddled with ambition it seeps from him like sweat.
I think he wants to be warden more than anything in the world.
Except perhaps ruler of that world.
It's going to take a damn good candidate to beat him, that's for sure.
And are you that candidate?
Well, like I said, I'm very doubtful. And after all, there are quite a few others throwing in their caps.
You know, I've a feeling, though, that quite a few of those caps are going to be without homes, by which I mean there's going to be another meeting of the Fellows in the main library tonight, and I expect a few heads to start rolling. In fact, despite your rather low and totally unjustified opinion of yourself, I shouldn't be at all surprised if when we get down to the third or fourth ballot, the contest isn't simply between Matthew Moore and yourself. Anyway, it's all up to the great and goodly Fellows, isn't it? And I can't tell you how pleased I am to be simply a happy and unbruised spectator to the contest. Well, thank you for calling, Simon, telling me that you believe I'll be missed. I appreciate it very much. I've got a feeling you care for the college more than most.
Thank you. Well, if you'll excuse me, I'll let you get back to Mr. Mozart.
And now we come to Willie Henshaw. I don't have to remind anyone here of his distinguished career, truly outstanding, and he will, of course, be receiving the backing of all the lawyers who make up the college's non-resident fellows. There's no doubt he has strong support. Let's really get to know him, though, shall we? I suggest a series of informal lunches be set up for him with us as his hosts. The way to a man's mind is often through his mouth.
I don't think Siegenthal's going to make it through the next ballot, do you?
Not sure, Leo, old dear. He certainly has support, and he has been at the college 40 years.
Yes, but when you think about it, every damn thing he's set his hand to has ended up in the dustbin. And that, I feel, is where his candidature's going.
Montague here.
And Martin Lang here. Remember me, Mr. Montague, your nosy reporter friend.
What do you want, Mr. Lang? I'm very busy.
I hear there's quite a little war going on. Like to tell me about it? Now you're no longer in the run yourself.
No, I would not.
I hear old Willie Henshaw has suddenly been dropped like a hot potato. Why was that?
Goodbye, Mr. Lang.
Come on. You owe me.
Owe you? For what?
Well, glass of wine. Half a glass anyway. Look. I'm only a poor reporter, Mr. Montague, trying to make an honest living.
And did your honesty prevent you from claiming for a meal for two, I wonder?
No, of course not.
Then I think I owe you nothing, Mr. Lang. Goodbye.
Hello? Hello?
Matthew here, Simon.
Oh. This is something of a surprise.
I've been rather impressed by your performance. Impressed and worried. You're a little too close for comfort. It looks as though it stands a very good chance of ending up with you and me fighting it out vote for vote.
Yes, it looks like it. Why are you phoning, Matthew?
I just want you to know that I want the post of warden very badly. I want you to know that.
Yes.
I want you to burn it into your mind, Simon, dear boy. Burn it very deeply into your mind. Very, very deeply.
Look, what the hell is this?
I want you to be completely clear that if something should go wrong for me, things could get very nasty indeed.
What do you mean?
I mean, very nasty. That's what I mean.
Well, I must say, James, this election has turned into a right old pickle.
It certainly has.
I mean, here we have Simon Evans only 2 votes short of the 2/3 majority needed, and Matthew Moore, damn sure he's not going to release a single one of his supporters to break the deadlock.
Cheers. As you
Cheers.
say, a right old pickle.
We'll have to put heavier pressure on Moore.
And we'll be wasting our time, and you know it.
In that case, it will simply force a reference to the college visitor, won't it?
Oh, no, we mustn't have that.
We won't have a choice.
Look, I'm not having the fate of this college put in the hands of an ignorant bishop.
Then what do you suggest?
I suggest I change my mind about not expressing a preference and start throwing a bit of weight around.
And whom are you going to support?
Hello?
Simon?
Yes, speaking.
I've just been informed of the results. Congratulations.
What?
I said congratulations.
You mean?
I mean you've won. Of course. It's almost unanimous in the end.
Oh, God.
I suppose I'll have to get used to calling you Warden now, won't I?
I want you to be completely clear that if something should go wrong for me, things could get very nasty. Very nasty indeed.
Oh, come on, now you'll have to get used to being called Warden.
It's not that. In fact, I got used to being called Warden after the first 6 seconds.
What is it, then?
I'm worried about Matthew Moore.
Oh, in what way?
Well, it's been a week now since the election, and in that time we've not exchanged so much as a grunt across high table.
Oh,
I think he really hates me for taking the wardenship away from him.
I don't think you need worry.
Well, I wish I shared your optimism, James.
Look, let's just sit here for a minute. You know, naturally Matthew was bitterly disappointed in not becoming Warden. I mean, it's hardly been a secret how much he coveted the post. Nevertheless, I've known him since he was an undergraduate, which I confess is rather longer than either of us cares to remember, and I'm sure he'll behave himself.
Well, as tomorrow is the final day of the academic year, he'll have a chance to show his true colours at my party, won't he?
He'll be fine.
I hope you're right. Obviously, I'm uneasy on a personal level, but also, this being my first Warden party, I don't want more to turn up simply to exacerbate the tensions, the residual tensions left over from the election. And this college means a great deal to me, as you know, and the tradition of the party tomorrow also means a great deal to me. And I don't want the anger and disappointment of one man turning the occasion into a slanging match.
Oh, it won't happen, I'm sure. Although, I do have to admit, of course, that where Matthew Moore is concerned, one can never be really sure.
You're beginning to sound less optimistic, James.
No, not at all. Not at all. Come on, let's continue our walk, shall we? Hello, Willie. It's James here, James Montague. Yes, I'm fine, thanks. Listen, are you going to Warden's party tomorrow? Oh, good. Well, it's the last chance I'll get to see you before October, and I'd like to have a chat with you about a book I'm working on at the moment. Yes. Oh, that's excellent, Willie. By the way, have you seen Matthew Moore lately? Yes. How do you think he is? Yeah, well, he's going to be there tomorrow, and, between you and me, I'm rather worried.
Ah, James, good to see you.
Yes, and you. Not a bad turnout, eh?
Not bad at all. But you know, we'd have had one more if the Campuchians hadn't opened the border yesterday. Young Weems shot off like a bat out of hell. Should be in Angkor by now. Oh, and of course, Kid Brown's in class, huh?
Oh, so he is, pity. Translating?
Indeed, mantras.
Don't tell the chapel clerks.
Indeed not. Well, must circulate. See you later.
Yeah. Well, it's Leo Dart, and how are you coping with life?
To tell you the truth, I'm still recovering from that bloody awful election.
Yeah, and you thought it was going to be me, I
It
hear.
would have been if you'd entered. You should have done.
Well, I prefer life as much on the sidelines as possible.
Well, you certainly entered into the fray at the end, didn't you?
I simply did my best to see that a choice was finally made.
Yes, think you've been crossed off Moore's Christmas card list, though. But then, haven't we all? Just look at him. Have you ever seen such a depressed-looking person in your life? God, he looks as though he's just won Norway in a raffle. I suppose it must be killing him that we finally decided that a grandson of a coal miner and son of a grammar school scholarship pilot killed in a bombing raid over Aachen fell more clearly into the traditional image of All Saints. Well, it's over now, thank God. Let's hope he doesn't machine gun us all.
Amen to that. Oh, by the way, where's Jack Ainsley? Is he coming?
No, he isn't. In fact, he's many, many miles away. At this very moment, he's probably being buggered by little boys in Morocco.
I don't think I heard that.
Oh, God, look. Moore's walking to the trestles. He's going to speak.
Well, here we go.
I wonder if I may have your attention for a moment or two.
You bet you can.
As most of you know, I leave for Babylon later today.
Lucky old you.
What are the ladies here going to do without you?
Oh, I'm sure they'll survive.
My God, he's smiling.
The fact is, I've got to get out there because...
You can't stand any of us.
Not at all. It's because someone has to make sure that the French aren't wrecking the site as they rebuild it, and in this case, that someone is yours truly.
You've always been our hero, Matthew.
Ah, so what happened to the crosses by my name, then?
I cannot believe this.
Now, Apart from my going to Babylon, you also know that a week ago I lost one of the harder-fought elections in this college's recent history. What I want to do before I go away, before many of us go away, is to settle something. I think it is about time that I drank a toast to the new warden and welcomed him properly to his high and arduous office. Doctors, I ask you to join me in raising your glasses to the Warden of All Saints.
The Warden of All Saints. This morning I would have bet $1,000,000 this wouldn't happen.
Warden? Warden, would you just come beside me for a moment? That's it. Now, you see that I have a small black figurine here with me, one, in fact, that I treasure greatly. I acquired it on my, well, should I say, our last dig in Syria. Warden, I would very much like for you to accept this as a gift from me to you, a gift which I hope with all my heart expresses to you the fact that I do not hold, and will never hold, a single grudge. Warden, this is for you.
Matthew, this is really most kind of you.
I'm afraid I don't have an export license to go with it, though.
I'm not surprised, Matthew. I always thought you archaeologist chaps were nothing but tomb robbers.
I mean, the reason I came to see you is because although we're among the few fellows left in full residence, I seem to be seeing remarkably little of you.
Yes, I'm sorry, James. It's just that although I don't have a term time schedule to keep to at the moment, I nevertheless do seem to be in demand socially quite a bit.
No, I'm not blaming you. Far from it. I mean, after all, I'm up to my ears in preparing that book of mine on Champollion's work. I just thought it time I popped in for a quick hello. Is everything all right?
Oh, indeed. Thousands of letters, of course. I tell you, most of my invitations seem to come from rather fetching ladies who are high up in the social scene. I'll just put these in my post tray. So, everything's certainly all right. It's amazing how attractive to the opposite sex I suddenly am since becoming warden.
Yes, I bet.
Sorry you didn't apply for the post now?
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, if there's one thing I prefer to sex, it's good food and wine.
Well, that's two things.
Yeah, well, yes, so there you are. Believe me, the attention of ladies comes a pretty poor third on the list of things I enjoy.
Shame on you, James.
Listen, why don't we have lunch together sometime next week? We could go to that restaurant mine in Amberley Street. Do you like seafood?
I love it.
Yeah, well, they do mussels in mustard and brandy sauce there, and I tell you, Warden, old friend, it defeats all competition.
Wednesday, then. We go on Wednesday.
Good. Well, I'll let you get on with your letters. I'll get back to the book I'm reading. You know, there's nothing like treating oneself to a few hours with a first-class book.
So sex, in fact, comes fourth.
Oh, yes, so it does. And I've a feeling if I really put my mind to it, I'd think a lot of other things too. Right, well, take care of yourself. I look forward to our meal together next week.
And so do I. Thanks for coming round, James. Very nice of you.
No, not at all. You take it easy with those ladies now.
I do my best.
Be seeing you then.
Dear sir, I regret that in the circumstances...
Go away. Go away. Go away!
What on earth's wrong?
Wrong? Nothing. It was nothing.
But I heard you crying. Go away. You sounded...
It was nothing, really. A wasp. It was wasp, that's all.
Wasp?
Yes, I can't bear them. I was trying to swat it. That's all it was. Anyway, I managed to get it, thank heavens. Sorry I worried you. It's just this terrible phobia of mine.
Are you sure you're all right?
Absolutely.
I must say, you look as though you've just seen a ghost. You're white as a sheet.
I know, silly, isn't it? Anyway, as I say, I'm fine now.
Well, if you say so. All right, I'll get back to my book.
That's it. See you Thursday, then.
Wednesday?
Yes, of course. Wednesday.
Look, if I were you, I'd make yourself a cup of very sweet tea, sit back and relax for a while, get some colour back in your cheeks.
I'll do that. Wednesday, yes. Wednesday. I'll remember, don't worry.
For God's sake, what's wrong?
There's no solidity. There's no...
What?
Please go, James. Please leave me now, please.
Look, what is all this nonsense?
James, I'm asking you to leave me, please.
Well, if that's what you want. If that's what you really want.
There are things to be done, you see. Things to be dealt with, you understand.
No, I can't say I do understand.
I'll see you Wednesday in the restaurant.
All right. Goodbye, Warden.
Oh, God. Oh, God, help me.
Lord Medway? Lord Medway, tell me, have you seen the Warden of late?
I talked to him briefly a few days ago, but that's all. Seems to be keeping himself pretty much to himself. The odd social event will get him out of his office for a while, but that's it. Why do you ask?
Well, I'm a bit worried about him. He doesn't seem too good to me at the moment.
I'm glad you say that, in a way. So I've noticed it myself, but I thought perhaps I was just imagining things. What do you think's wrong?
Well, I don't know, but he certainly seems to be under some awful stress of some kind.
I hope it's not that he can't cope with the job. It'd be terrible if we've chosen the wrong man. Talking of which, did you hear that Matthew has had to postpone his visit to Babylon yet again?
Yes, I have heard.
Seems to be taking it very well. Although the thought of those French wrecking the site must be burning him up a bit.
Has he said anything about the Warden's behaviour?
Yes. I spoke to him about it, in fact. He said he thought we were overreacting and that all Simon wanted was a little more time to get used to the job. Early days yet, he said. Give the poor chap until All Saints at least. He's sure everything will be all right by then. Matthew's being very supportive of the Warden, isn't he?
Yes, he certainly is.
Well, let's hope he's right and we're wrong and that there's nothing to worry about.
I've tried phoning him several times. Each time I get no reply. Nor me. I haven't even seen him.
Go away. Go away.
I've tried phoning him several times. Never seems to be his number. I've tried phoning him several times. I've tried phoning him several times. A price to pay. Always a price to pay.
Go away.
Always a price to pay.
Oh, God. The walls. The walls are melting. Help me. Please, help me. Someone help me. Someone.
Are you sure I can't get you a drink, sir?
Oh, why not? I can't just sit here watching people enjoy themselves. The thought of those mussels waiting to be eaten is driving me crazy. If my friend doesn't show up soon, I'll eat alone and to hell with it.
What would you like to drink, sir?
James, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me.
My God. What's happened to you?
I couldn't help it, James. Something just...
No, I don't mean your lateness. I mean you... Waiter, bring us a bottle of the same wine, would you?
Yes, sir.
Warden, I don't know what to say.
What do you mean?
Well, you know perfectly well your appearance. I'm sorry, you must be very ill. I mean, Simon, to hell with calling you Warden. I'm speaking to you now as a friend. A friend who really cares for you. I have to say that you look terrible.
But don't worry.
What do you mean? What do you mean, don't worry? Your face is gaunt, your lines have appeared, and you've got about as much grey hair as Auburn. I can't believe the way you look.
I've not been sleeping well.
Not sleeping well? My God, Simon, you'd have to go without sleep for a year to look the way you do.
I'm all right. Just leave me alone.
I'm sorry, Simon, I'm not going to leave you alone. I'm not this time. I should have pursued the matter last week when I heard you calling out in your office. But I let the matter ride. But not now. Not now.
What is it you want from me?
The truth. That's what I want.
Well, the truth about what?
Only you know that.
Yes. Only I know that.
So?
Here we are, gentlemen, your wine. Do you want
No, we damn well don't.
Very well, sir.
Look, I'm sorry, forgive me. I shouldn't have spoken like that.
It's perfectly all right, sir. I do understand.
All right, thank you.
I'll come back later.
Now listen, the truth. What's getting to you?
Oh, James.
Now, come, out with it. Out with it, Simon.
Well, it is to do with sleep. What should I say? Dreams.
What kind of dreams?
Terrible dreams. Oh, God, such terrible dreams.
What happens?
Nothing that makes much sense, really. Everything just has an awful sort of insubstantiality. Nothing is solid. In the dreams, nothing is solid, nothing.
In what way?
I'll I'll be in a chair or in bed, and suddenly the whole room will go soft. Soft, as though the furniture were flesh, suppurating flesh. And the walls are made of hair. It's as though everything that shouldn't be is alive, but dying.
Look, have you seen a doctor?
Yes. Sleeping pills. They don't help. They don't stop the dreams.
What brought all these dreams on?
I'm not sure. But I think I know.
What?
I think they're coming for me.
Who?
I'm not mad, you know.
No, I know that.
But I think they're coming for me. And when they do, when they come for me, James, all hell's going to be let loose. Oh, James. Such a short while ago I was so happy. I'd become Warden, and I was so happy. Now I can't trust a thing I see. My nights are all nightmare, and I feel as though my very veins are filled with worms.
Now listen to me. I'm going to refer to you as Warden again because what I have to say has a very real bearing on your career. Somehow, either with the help of doctors or psychiatrists or your own willpower, you have got to pull yourself together. You have got to pull yourself together, Warden. I mean, you know the college is too clever to be forgiving. Now, I know what's happening to you is causing you great distress. God, I can see that all too clearly, and I want to help. And if at any time, day or night, you need that help, I want you to pick up the phone and call me. Will you do that?
Yes.
Good. Right. Let's see if we can get you to eat something.
Well, thank you again, James, for listening to my tale of woe.
I did ask you to tell me.
You don't think I'm mad, do you?
Oh, of course not. Certainly no more than anyone else in this place, anyway.
Not very reassuring.
Would you like some tea or something?
I think not. I'd best go up to my rooms. I've got quite a bit of paperwork to do. Again, thanks for everything. I'll never forget your kindness.
And don't forget either what I said in the restaurant.
I won't. You have my word.
Any time, day or night, if you need my help, just pick up that phone and call me.
I will.
Any time. Just call. James Montague.
They've come back, James. They've come back. Worse than before. Worse.
I'm on my way.
They're behind the living things. What? The ones that shouldn't be alive.
What?
Do you understand? Behind the living things that shouldn't be alive are other living things. Things I can't see. I can only hear them. Can you hear them, James?
Warden, I hear nothing.
They're crawling in my ears. Something's coming. Something on its way.
I don't understand. I'm sorry, but I just don't understand.
You do think I'm mad. I knew you did. I knew it.
Look, Warden.
To hell with what you think.
Simon.
I know what's happening to me. They're coming for me. And they think I can't hear them. But I do. I do. Dear God. I do. Help me, James. Please. Please. Help me.
I can't help you, Simon. I wish I could.
You said you would.
Look, seeing you like this, I realize that I was right when I said you needed a psychiatrist. Somebody who...
No.
Simon,
help me. You help me.
Look, I can't.
You can. Listen. You can.
How?
I know what brings them. It's that.
What?
That. Over there on the mantelshelf. That black figurine that Matthew gave me. It's that brings them. It's crazy, isn't it? But it's that brings them.
You're not serious, are you?
Never more so.
What, the figurine brings them?
Yes. There's something about that writing at the base of it. I want you to find out what it means.
Why did you ask Matthew?
I have.
And?
He says the writing is unknown. I don't know if that's true, but I do know it brings them. Find out for me, James, and tell me what it says.
Ah, James! At last. I want a word with you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Lord Medway, but I'm in rather a hurry. I've had a call from the Warden. He wants to see me at once.
Well, I'm glad he wants to see someone. He's been locked away in those lodgings of his for the past week.
Yes,
This is hopeless behaviour by someone who is supposed to be Warden.
But
I don't mind telling you that everyone now wishes we had appointed Matthew to the post.
Look, I'm really sorry, but I don't have time to stop and talk now.
And for that matter, where have you been locking yourself away for the past 2 weeks?
Foreign travels is all I can say.
Where to?
That's all I can say, I'm afraid. Look, I must go.
James, this isn't good enough. We can't have a Warden behaving like a lunatic. There's got to be some explaining.
Well, don't worry, there will be.
James!
And soon.
Mad as hatters, both of them.
Last week marks began to appear on the fabric. My furniture was suddenly smashed by unknown hands. This week, scratches too. Terrible scratches on the doors as though made by animal teeth and claws. And the glass too, the windows. You can see for yourself.
Yes, I can see.
And what do you think, my friend? You think I made these marks? You think I made them?
You asked me to come because you said you had a note from Matthew.
Yes. Yes, here it is. Listen, what he's written. Whatever this matter is between us, it has to be resolved. You must meet in the new quadrangle at midnight. You must finish a matter between us that I think you already understand. You have to be there. You have to. Midnight, then.
Then you'll have to go, won't you?
I can't. They're coming. Whatever they are, they're coming. I should have guessed it would be All Saints' Night. Well, I'm certainly not going.
I'm sorry, Simon, but this is something that cannot be avoided.
You found out, haven't you? You found out what the writing on the figurine says. Haven't you?
I know what it means.
I can't go.
Well, if you don't, you will lose the post of Warden.
I just want an end of all this.
Then be at the new quadrangle before midnight.
Is it really the only way?
Oh, yes. Don't worry. I'll be with you.
This is strange. I don't like it at all, James, not at all. I think it was a mistake coming here.
You had to come.
It was a mistake, believe me.
There was no escaping it.
Honest to God, James, there's something not right here.
Look, there's nothing we can do. Your being here is not really a matter of choice. You know that.
But where is Moore, then?
He'll be here at midnight, just as he said.
What time is it now?
It's nearly time.
There! Look! Over there in those shadows. That's him, isn't it?
I think so. He'll step from the darkness in a few seconds.
What in God's name is that sound?
I don't know. But I know it has little to do with God.
It's coming from over there, across the quadrangle. Oh, my God! What's happening here?
Easy now, easy. The moment's almost come.
It's past the middle gate. I can't stand this, I can't. I don't care what you say, I can't.
You've got to.
Sweet heavens. It's something like a man. Something like a man. Lord, the smell of it.
He's here. Matthew's here. Look. Stepping from those shadows.
God help us both.
And at the first stroke of midnight I am here, as I said. Although I didn't mean you to come, James. Still, no matter. What is to be, will be.
What in Christ's name is this thing approaching us?
In Christ's name, I suppose it would be the power of evil. In my name, it is my Lord and Master. A master I have served for years. And now comes a time to repay that service. You took what was mine, Simon, and you have to pay for that. You have to pay, and the time is now. There always comes a time to pay. Sandath, Sataneus, Bladach, Bachem, holdeth Nacharet.
Come, Lord.
Holdeth Nacharet.
Come to thy servant.
There's nothing you can do, James. Nothing on this earth.
Come to thy servant.
You're both about to enter hell.
Come to thy servant, Lord. Come for thy servant.
No, my Lord. Wait, my Lord.
Thy servant calls thee. He calls thee.
No!
Thy servant calls thee, Lord. Take thy servant, Lord, for he calls thee.
My master. My master.
James.
It's all right. It's all over now.
But what happened?
You fainted, and I brought you back up here.
I mean, before I fainted.
Look, take it easy now.
We saw it, didn't we?
Yes.
I mean, we really did see it moving towards us.
Yes.
I'm not sure. I can't trust myself, can't trust my thoughts.
Then I'll tell you what I saw.
No. I don't think I want
Like
to know.
you, Simon, I saw this creature, something like a man but a greater stature and black, coming towards us, its movements liquid. I am right, aren't I, Simon? I can see it now as it came, forming and reforming itself. I can smell the stench of rot, of decay. I can hear that sound. I'm right, aren't I?
Oh, God help me.
He did.
What do you mean?
Matthew had summoned from the bowels of the earth, or wherever it is that evil resides, the power that we call the devil. He'd summoned him, or to be more correct, begged him to appear and take you away. Well, as we saw only too well, he appeared all right and he came towards you.
Extending that arm, that hideous arm.
Yes, an arm that seemed made of thousands and thousands of flies.
So why was I spared?
You were spared because Matthew started calling out in an ancient tongue, a language as chilling as the grave itself. It was what I needed. I knew the enunciation now, not just the translation.
You were calling out the inscription written on the figurine, weren't you?
Yes.
And that's when I fainted.
And it's also when that creature from hell became confused. As I called out to it, "Come, Lord, take thy servant," it turned towards its true servant, Matthew. It saw the look of pure reverence in his eyes. It embraced him, enfolded him so completely, it was impossible to tell the two apart. And then it seemed to soften and spread out like mist across the quadrangle. In seconds, it was gone, leaving behind only the corpses of endless flies. It was certainly lucky I'd learned the inscription on that figurine. My journey abroad was not for nothing, I'm pleased to say.
Oh, thank God you were there, James.
Indeed.
And now?
Now you must think no more about it.
Oh, impossible.
Oh, you must try. You have a college to salvage. And a missing person to report.
But what do I say?
Well, I think you simply say that Matthew seems to have disappeared from the face of the earth.
Is that enough?
Well, it's enough for now, I think. It'll certainly give everyone something to talk about, eh?
So the inscription simply said, "Come, Lord, take thy servant."
Yes. You know, I don't suppose the Prince of Darkness is ever to be trusted. But it may be that sometimes he keeps exactly to his word.